graphics.
Oh, damn it. Hi, everybody. I'm Birdsey, and I am very good at other things that maybe aren't spelling. And I'm going to get through this intro. Welcome to the Jam Rewards. Joining me for this special night are my very good friends, Fiona, Zara, and TT. Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
I have a bow tie.
You are very fancy.
I drew everybody with a bow tie, but I didn't save the images properly, so everybody lost their bow ties, except for Zara. Zara kept
I
his
took
bow.
them all.
Why do you have them all?
I gained more power that way.
Weird.
They're being worn all at once, layered on top of each other.
Yeah.
Don't.
That's why you only see one in the image.
You
We
gotta.
just take them away. There's more.
So hey, this is a award show. It's mostly a game discussion thing, but I'm calling it award show. So you can trust that at the end of the stream, you will know the definitive list of the best, worst, and other categories of games that we touched last year, and it's definitive. So
Of 19 games that we think are good.
there's going to be 19 game of the years for 2021, and next year there might be even more in 2022, but without further ado, I think we should just get started, right? That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think we should start with a first category. And our first category is the best game that I didn't play. Speaking of which, bink, there it is. Oh, I put it in the wrong place.
Oh no. It's all going wrong.
It's all broken. I've goofed it up from top to bottom.
You're wondering why Words is having so much problems. There's 20 things directly on there, and he's cycling through them like a madman.
There's a bunch of these is the problem, and it's gonna sit right there. So
Yeah.
so Zara, I know I have a game I didn't play. What was the best game you didn't play?
Well, I had 2 games on there, but I've actually played one of them now. But I still haven't played Wildermyth.
That's fair.
Mostly because I want to play it with people on stream, because I have seen other people play it, and it looks like a ton of stupid fun.
I'm interested in it, given what you said, but I just don't have money to buy games, so...
Yeah, it's like hard to describe. Well, it's not really that hard. It's like a tactical RPG in gameplay, but you play as characters throughout like a campaign, and all of the adventures you go on are randomly plucked from like a list of generated ones that are all written by like different people, and they've all got their names written on them as to who wrote each quest. It's pretty neat. And then like your characters will change and grow and evolve throughout the series in random ways. Sometimes in interesting ways, and sometimes in not so interesting ways. And your characters can just die, and then they're gone.
I'd heard a lot about this game, and I want to play it for similar reasons. It seems really, really neat. I want to play it on like stream with people, because it'd be fun to like voice dialogue and do a little adventure.
Oh, it being randomly generated is that like Zara can play it with a different group of people, and then can play it here, and then
I would love to see how different those adventures are, because to my understanding, they can get really, really out there.
Yeah, there's some weird ones. And I love games, either board games or video games, in which like stories emerge on their own without necessarily being written in. And Wildermyth is like it's that, like the way that your characters evolve and kind of grow together your imagination fills in some of those details, and it's pretty fun.
Well, I'm personally I'm super hyped to play it because it just seems neat. And I also I also want to do like maybe 2 playthroughs of it because I want to see the differences. And apparently you can make your own adventures, which is what some people
Yeah,
are
it's like
excited about.
you have to pick a class, but like the character generator is like I don't think there's like preset characters. It's all just you make up a character every time you play and you go from there, and then you'll find other characters as you go.
Oh, okay. Neat.
Round of applause for Wordsley for successfully moving the title.
Don't pay attention to the stage crew.
You are the stage crew. I have to pay attention to you. You're the host of the show.
We're all sort of the hosts. I'm just moving the buttons. Well, speaking of moving the buttons, I'm going to move one right now. And I'm going to re-put up Solar Ash, which is the Heart Machine game. Same people who made like Hyper Light Drifter. And I talked about this before on the other show that I was on, but this game, flipping rules, it's Shadow of the Colossus meets Hyper Light Drifter meets Jet Set Radio. And those are all the things that I like. So the second this is available on anything but the Epic Gaming Store, I'm going to be buying it.
I never did finish Hyper Light Drifter.
It's a really good game. I
It
think
is,
it is.
but it's also a very hard game.
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's worth it.
And- Yeah,
Solar
but like
Ash.
that just kind of put me off dying for the 1000th time.
It's
Which one was this again?
Solar Ash. It's
Yeah.
What do you mean? Which one was this?
Did we play it
No,
on QA? Oh,
we have not. Yeah, I haven't. I haven't.
I
Played
guess
this at all.
you haven't played
Is
it.
there
yet.
what
Yeah.
category are we talking
Yeah,
about
I
right
know.
now?
It's all good, but yeah, it's super good. I don't think I need to like re-go over why I think this is cool, but I'm excited to touch it. It looks really, really awesome. Besides, I want to just skate around this world that they've built. All right. Now for a category that we're all invested in.
Yeah, every one of us has something in this category.
It's true. And it's been that case forever. I think we can all say that we all did it.
Certainly didn't do this one last minute.
No, definitely not. Bink.
I've never felt them.
Wait, you should probably build one. My files for this are unexpected emotions. Anyway, I'm gonna start with this one because mine was It Takes Two, which is, for lack of a better word, one of my better feeling games throughout over this past like year or two. It tackles a subject matter that I don't think a lot of games ever like do in a satisfactory way, and I liked the way it ended, though I've been told that more than a couple people don't like the way it ended because of things that don't get dealt with.
I wouldn't know. I didn't reach the end.
I
I haven't played it myself or really watched it. I just know it tends to be divisive. I have not heard anyone who said it was just okay. I have heard people who really liked it or people who hated it.
That sure is a thing, Carnias.
Yeah, it's
But
It's-
anyway, we're not trying to be negative.
Yeah,
I went
we're
into this to be clear, I don't particularly like this game, but I went in without being like, I'm not gonna shit on this game.
yeah.
This is
I mean, I even see the negativity and why it's around this game. It's at least for me the moments where there is positives, the moments where you see like a genuine like heartwarming moment, are powerful in my opinion.
I can see that.
Yeah, I think especially because the person that I played it with, they had similar feelings about the game just because it hit close. But
That might be part of why it's so divisive. Of people bounce off each other emotionally.
Yeah.
So when you either somewhat like it or somewhat dislike it, you magnify that with your friend, and it cements it stronger.
Yeah, that makes a lot. That would track. Yeah, I would want to see people play it. One person who hates it and one person who loves it, because I want to see what happens
I'm
at the end
curious
of
how
that
that would
game.
go.
But that's my game. I talked about this before again, so I will wait till I get to my new picks to dig in. Up next would be TT with Hypnospace Outlaw.
Yeah, so Hypnospace Outlaw is a game where you play as a moderator to like a sort of like a late web 1.0 type internet that people access in their sleep.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
You have like a moderator account, which means you can't interact with it normally, but you can selectively remove content as defined by cases you get assigned for various reasons.
Fascinating.
And I'm like, I did not start using the internet a lot until the internet had been past that point. So I feel like maybe I didn't get some of the whole
Oh,
feel
no.
the game was going for. I didn't like the wave of nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
But I still liked it a lot regardless. And each act of the game, basically, just to, before that, like the game has a lot of like very, it's exaggerated, but it feels like people like if you see websites and you see interactions that feel very accurate to what the internet would be like for better or for worse in cases. And every act sort of has a little time skip in between due to in-universe technical difficulties, basically. The game, it's technically the epilogue, but not in like an after the end kind of way. But as like the final chapter of the game kind of way. The skip from the penultimate act to the epilogue is kind of a punch in the gut.
Huh.
Oh, now you got me all excited. That seems
It's
awesome.
possibly the maddest I've been at a fictional character since, well, it's the maddest I've been at a fictional character in a way that I think is intentional on the part of the people making the game in a while.
It wasn't like this person
Not like I had a problem with the work kind of way, but but
in the confines of
it
the
was
story.
specifically made such that this person did a thing that was pretty bad.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, I'm definitely. I want to take a look at that. That seems cool.
Really hit me in the gut, and the last, over the course of the epilogue, you do get kind of a catharsis and closure, but I still took a break for the night after I got to that part and picked the game up again the next day, rather than, I needed to let that sit a minute, basically.
Makes sense. Do you have anything else, sir?
The game has a website called Grammy Cream's Hot Butter Ice Cream.
Well,
There's an unexpected emotion.
That catches me in the feels a couple times. Yeah, that whole sentence hurt.
I certainly didn't expect to have that emotion. I don't know what it is, but I did not expect it.
I
It
mean,
has its own in-game theme music that plays whenever you visit the page.
I mean, yeah,
that's
websites used to do that.
that's good marketing. All right, Sarah. You're gonna need to tell me why you had emotions about Calistro.
So okay, there's a few things. First of all, I mean the guy in charge of Callus Row, formerly Callus Row,
For context, this
being
is
outed.
something within VR chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the game is VR chat, but this is kind of VR chat is more of a social platform at this point than it is like a specific game. Like formerly Callus Row, now Neon Divide, is one of many roleplay groups. Like there's also Fractured Thrones. There is Ascension Academy. There's a bunch of them, and a lot of the same people are also involved between these groups. It's weird. I've fallen into this rabbit hole of like VR chat RP stuff, and it's strange. But anyway, so yeah, it used to be Callus Row, and then the guy who was in charge of it ended up being outed as like a gigantic sex pest. So that was unexpected, especially because like I didn't even know him. I didn't really watch like his streams. I didn't really care that much about him in particular, but it still kind of just hit me in a weird way. But he's gone. Unfortunately, he didn't give up the IP of Callus Row, so all of the creative people who put so much time and effort into it have now moved on and changed the names and filed the serial numbers off and are going to be continuing it in their own version. But to speak to that more so than the bad stuff, the people who are involved with it are all, a lot of them are pretty good at what they do, and every now and then you get moments that you don't really expect in game. I mostly watched through Kraken's perspective, the character he was playing, and there was a moment where Kraken's character Ricky was at like a fancy gala for all the upper city residents, and he found out that one of the characters that he was hanging around with for a few episodes earlier turned up dead. And that was the first time that he heard about it, and you could just kind of feel the wind get taken out of him for like the rest of the session. And it's just, like Kraken was definitely kind of acting it up a little bit, but it was surprising to kind of get that emotional gut punch of now this big fat cartoon looking rat is just downing drinks at the bar and getting sad about this other little goofy rat character. And then later in the series, another fan favorite character died. And then, Kraken again had to go through the moments of saying goodbye to one of his friends. And that character is gone now. They're dead. And all of this stuff is just, it's all unscripted, more or less. It's all just kind of people doing improv and making this stuff up as they go. And so a lot of it is silly and funny. But every now and then you get those moments that to kind of remind you that, oh, I'm more invested in this than I thought I was. And I think that's pretty cool.
Of what I've heard you like talk about it, it seems really interesting, and it makes me sad that I don't have like VR capabilities myself because expensive. I am waiting on the day when VR becomes accessible to like human beings.
Better keep on waiting.
Yeah, probably. Maybe if I buy my house, I can save up more money and then do it. But man, it seems really cool, and it seems like something like I would want to try and like get into because I like RP stuff.
Mean, the bigger name roleplay communities generally prefer people who have VR hardware, just because it makes things more dynamic, and these are like shows that people watch. So
You can
Makes sense.
look at them and move your
Yeah.
hands around. And
But like I know that like the Purple Lotus, for example, is open to everybody, and I know you don't have to have VR to join in on that. It's there, and I'm sure that there are other communities out there that are, you know, open to that kind of thing too. Because I mean, VR chat is huge. It's growing more and more every day. It's wild.
I mean, VRChat had recently somebody made that like whole Jet Set Radio Future like environment that's
Yep.
just Shibuya, and it looks really cool. And I kind of want to just do it just to see that.
Yeah, it's VR chat is taken off a lot in the last couple of years, and it's become its own thing. And like so far, like the developers have been supporting it pretty well. It's what's funny is getting involved in this community and seeing, you know, kind of what's been happening in VR chat, and then comparing it to like all the stuff that's been going on with the metaverse lately, and it's like this exists already. Like this whole metaverse concept, it's just like it's what's happening in VR chat. Like it's what happened in VR chat like 2 years ago. This is all old news.
VR chat has too much soul.
It's true.
There's a lot of creative people behind it, and not a lot of business people behind it.
So far, that's kind of the way
People
it
aren't
looks. And
looking at VR chat and asking, "How can I send a worse email through this?"
You can always send worse email, but you know what you can't do? Bullet jump. Fiona, tell us about the new war.
Okay, so in emotional moments, I've played 2 games this year that would qualify.
Yeah.
Endwalker, of course, is one of them, but I knew Endwalker would break me going into it. Shadowbringers did, so would Endwalker. But what I did not expect was just the emotions that I'd get out of Warframe. And some of it's just when you play a game for 15 for not 15, that's too long. For like 10 years, and then you get closure to a major event, it's affecting. And I'm gonna talk so much more about New War. It comes up on my list like 3 times.
I guess we'll have time to discuss more about New War, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like it really did emotionally affect me, and I'm sure for other people it won't the same level, but I kind of just accept that I'm at the Warframe's my special interest, so it affects me in ways that it affects basically no one else.
I feel that I started Warframe a long time ago because B was playing it, and I was like, oh, that you guys are playing, that seems like fun, and I just tried it out, and I died all the time, and then little by little I started getting more and more into it, and you know, I started playing a couple things on my own and just trying things out, and it something about that game is really engrossing. Like once you find something that hooks you, it really hooks you. And then they did a big like overhaul of everything in on like the map level, which introduced a whole bunch of characters and like setting that wasn't just bad guys to mow through, which I think speaks to that game's ability to be
They've done huge overhauls like many times.
right. I think the overhaul in particular that I'm thinking of was the first time that I got to go to a planet and see native.
Cetus?
Like yeah, like I saw people native to that planet, and I was like, oh, these are people that I can talk to and interact with. And then the world, like that whole universe, which is essentially ours but just way in the future, like got way more vibrant and alive for me, because there are things here that aren't just trying to kill me. There are people to talk to, kids, parents. There's civilization, like all, and then you know, I fell off for a little bit and came back with the ice
Fortuna?
planet Fortuna, yes. And the I think what really like Warframe hit me a little differently around then because there was a song that got released to it, and it was "We All Lift," and it's like a
Yeah, Lift is a very good song.
it is like a workers like song for uh indentured servants in the game, let's say. And
Literal wage slaves.
yes, literal wage slaves. And to like I was already downloading the game, and then I heard that song and I was all the way back in again because hey, I'm a person of color. I'm a black person specifically, and that game hit me in part of my brain that's like, oh, this game is about me, and it's not, but it made me feel really happy to hear something like that.
It's also got a trans woman app.
Oh.
And she could so easily have been a bad joke because like she's got a very masculine voice, but the game never treats her as if she's a joke.
It's
And she has like some of the most profound lines.
DE, for the most part, has only done characters I've liked, and very rarely, like, if I don't like somebody, it's because they're a bad guy that I want to kick. It's not because they are written in a way that makes me go, "Ugh, gross." But you know, we'll have more time to talk about New War and maybe some more Warframe.
Boy, sure we will. Boy, we sure will.
But what's more important is not the games that, you know,
Man, you didn't center any of these.
I did, but I put them all in one folder, so it like resized them all. So listen, this is the first time I'm working on it. It's not easy. So those are all games that affect us emotionally, and these games affected us emotionally in different ways. I will say. So we all play games that we think are good, but we know maybe have some problems. So there's a category we got here for the best game that sucks. And I will go first, and I'll get this out of the way so everybody can yell at me if they need to. So the game, the game that I play pretty regularly that isn't good is League of Legends, and I have been on. I think every time I talk about League of Legends, I say how much I hate League of Legends. It's
to be the general thing tying League players together.
how much we hate this game. But it's not.
Yeah.
It's not the game that I hate. It's the people in the game, really. Like, if I die in League of Legends, I don't feel bad or something. Like,
You die in real life.
No. But like, if I die in League of Legends,
I hope not.
if I die in League of Legends, it's usually because somebody's better than me, and that's fine. But there's something about League of Legends, and maybe it's because it was one of the biggest games for a long time, that just it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way when I was interacting with people. Like, because there's all chat, so people would just type at me, and I would be like, "This sucks. I don't like this."
I think MOBAs and competitive games, to a lesser extent, just do that to people. Because Heroes
For
of
some
the
reason,
Storm
it seems to
also
be-
sucked like that.
I don't know why I had less of a bad time with Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm is just less crunchy, so I don't like it as much as League of Legends. Like in League, go ahead, sorry.
Having briefly played Dota 2 with some friends in high school, seems like MOBAs in particular just do bad things to people's brains.
I was playing
Never
it with a
played a
friend
MOBA.
yesterday. I was playing League of Legends with a friend yesterday, and 5 minutes in, he said out loud, "Wow, I've been playing this game for 5 minutes, and I'm already 30% more toxic." And we all had a good laugh, but they're
But it ranked true.
It does, and the thing that I think sucks the most is like the world that League of Legends takes place in, Runeterra, and like all of the characters and the stories and the setting is fascinating to me. I love it. I love hearing about it. I love talking about it. I love seeing other things that come out of it that aren't League of Legends. Because I like that world might be my special interest. I find it infinitely fascinating. My special interest is D&D, but whatever.
You can have like a lot of people have multiple special interests.
Yeah, and I haven't played the main mode of League of Legends, that like big diamond shaped map, in almost 5 years.
That's a square.
It's a square turned on its side. It's a diamond.
Square is a diamond.
Yeah.
Slip.
It like if I play League of Legends, I always play the very fast like quick play mode. That's like everybody just run in and fight each other, because you get to use your abilities really fast. You get to play all the game as fast as possible, and then it's over, and then you can just jump back in.
So I do have some experience with that, and I forget what it's called.
ARAM.
ARAM, yes. But that seems to make people even more toxic.
So in my experience, it hasn't. I maybe it's just in recent years because of a lot of people have been leaving League for other things. But
Yeah, that's fair.
a lot of people that I've been playing with they are usually just messing around, not trying to win, or they are genuinely kind. Like, I have a dumb story. So one day I was playing League of Legends. I was playing ARAM, and I don't know why, but I loaded in as a support character, and I was supporting the hell out of the game. I had like 55 assists or something at the end of the game, and two people sent me friends request after, which were weird. And then when I added them, they wanted to play more games with me, which I later found out is because they thought I was a girl. Which was interesting. So I turn. So what I did, I eventually unadded them from my friends list, and they've tried to add themselves to my friends list since then. So every time I log into League of Legends, I see those two friends requests that I just don't do anything with. As I'm a tease, but
Cool.
I think like the core game on paper sounds fascinating to me. It's like it's a very complex system of like stats and numbers and abilities that in combination with each other make really interesting things happen with the system they present to you. But it can seem unfair, it can seem swingy, it can seem snowbally, and I can see a lot of people get turned off by it. And it's really kind of deep. So if like you don't grok that stuff early, and you don't want to keep playing to learn it,
Yeah.
then you don't stick with it. And
I think that's why I got more through HOTS than I ever did in League of Legends, just
Right.
because like it didn't turn me off immediately by having people who knew way more about the game than me curb stomp me.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was me early on, and I'm still not good at the game, but I've because I've played for so long, I've seen all these things, and I have a okay brain for understanding mechanics. I've gotten better, and in a way that I don't normally see in games I play. But it's, I don't know. I feel satisfied whenever I play a game in League of Legends and it goes well. And for the most part, since I only play ARAM, I never have to run into people that suck. Sometimes it happens, but very rarely. And I don't know. I know why people don't like this game, and I know why people don't like the company that makes this game.
Yeah, on that note, fuck Riot Games.
Absolutely. Riot Games can huff my whole duff. But the game itself, I think, is fun, and I will probably continue to boot it up every once in a while, play an ARAM, and then quit. I usually do like one a week or something like that. Sometimes two. Yeah. But you know, that's my game that sucks that I think is good. But we have another one that's also in another place on this list. Is Pathologic 2 Zera.
All right. Let me tell you all about Pathologic 2. Pathologic 2 sucks. And it's supposed to suck. And that's what makes it great.
What?
Pathologic
I've heard this
Pathologic 2
whole-
is an amazing game.
What? You just said
But-
it sucks.
This is what every pathologic player
I,
says.
From the little bit I've heard of this, yes, this lines up with what I've heard of the game.
Pathologic 2 is an incredible game. One of the best games I've played, but it sucks to play. And like not even because like it's designed unintuitively or anything like that. It is all designed, it's all done on purpose. It is all to create this sense of you are in this world that hates you and you need to do everything you can to survive. You need to make choices that are probably going to get other people either sick or killed or whatever else. And you just kind of have to live with that because so in the intended way, because I think there's 3 different difficulties you can play on, and the intended difficulty is the most difficult. And it's, yeah, like it is kind of a miserable experience after a while because you are, at some point during the game, you are probably like, you know, almost dying of thirst, starving to death on your last little bit of health, grabbing some weird substance out of a garbage can to eat just to keep yourself alive for another day. It is not a game to play to relax. It is very stressful, very, very anxiety-inducing. But again, it's all part of the big picture. You kind of have to suffer through that to really get the full experience. And it's what makes matters worse is if you die, you respawn and the game punishes you for dying. So if you die, you come back and like some of your stats are reduced. Like your hunger meter is smaller than it used to be. So, or it will, and if you keep dying, the punishments get worse and worse and worse.
Oh
and
my
so,
God.
yeah, like the more that you fail at this game, the more it punishes you, and it can be a miserable experience. And so it all comes down to like, what is the absolute minimum that I need to do in order to survive? Because that is the most important thing, and that it all feeds into this whole idea of like, you need to do some things that you might regret later. But yeah, it's a wild ride, and I'll be talking more about it later. But it is a fantastic game. It is the best game that I wish everyone could play, but I would never recommend anyone play it because you need to be in a headspace to play that game.
All you've done is make me want to play this more. This sounds
That's all I can
awesome.
hope for. It's incredible, and it's, you know what the most devious thing is? The game, you can save at save points at clocks throughout the town.
Yeah.
And it keeps all of your saves. So you can literally go back to any of your previous saves and reload at any point that you've saved in the game.
Uh-huh.
So you might think,
downsides, I'm guessing.
Yep, you might think that, oh, well, I'll just reload before I died. All of those negative effects from dying are applied retroactively to all of your saves.
Oh, fuck.
The game does not let you get away with it.
That is so funny.
Hopefully,
There's a lot of meta stuff with the game too. Like there is at least a couple points where the game like speaks directly to you as a player.
it's also a sort of remake of Pathologic 1.
Sort of. It's kind of a sequel remake.
Yeah, it's a weird place.
It's also only 1/3 of
Yeah.
the full game technically.
Hopefully the other 2 characters get finished,
Fingers crossed. They're still working on the Bachelor story.
which is kind of funny because the Bachelor was the starting character
Yeah.
of Pathologic 1.
Yep.
Interesting.
But yeah, I'll be talking more about like the story and stuff because that is also part of the reason why I love the game so much. But I'll
All
deal
right.
with that later.
So we got that
Um,
tracks. Oh no, yeah, go ahead. You got.
Words. I was going to ask if it would fuck up your slideshow too much to ask if I could go last.
Oh no, yeah,
assuming
we can
Fiona's
go
okay with
last.
it.
Bink, bonk. Hey Fiona, we
Okay.
jumped over TT.
So I love Hitman 3. It's like an excellent game. All of the new Hitman series is extremely well designed. It's on my Game of the Year list. But it let me tell you about Hitman 3. Let me actually not tell you about Hitman 3. Let me tell you about the things around Hitman 3. There, it has DLC. Each of its DLC is a level. And, like, not to be clear, not an entirely new level, but a modification of one of the levels of the base game. And there's 7 of them, and each of them cost $5. And you can get a season pass for the price of 6 of them. But also, there's like a $20 like deluxe edition that does not come with any of that and comes with like 3 escalations. It is extremely price gouging. And it is extremely frustrating to me as someone who loves the game but cannot like put up with it. And like I got mad at Hitman 2's expensive DLC, but at least Hitman 2 had its whole levels. Oh right, also it's like $60 to import the stuff to Hitman 3 from Hitman 1 and 2, or to have Hitman 1 and 2 in 3 if you didn't have it when the game came out.
They charge you $60 to put old
Each.
stuff. Oh god.
Like it puts the whole game in, but it's still so much.
Yeah.
That's
It is
that's insane. That's
It is
bonkers.
ludicrously frustrating, and there's no reason for them to have time gated it except to fuck people over and get more money.
That sounds pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. For a game that I've always thought was interesting.
No, Carnius, it isn't because so they had to delay it. They delayed it because of the Epic Game Store exclusivity, but they managed to make it happen, and like. They still can import your save stuff from Steam, so they clearly can see that you've played Hitman 2. So they should clearly be able to see that, oh, you should own this game. But no.
That sucks.
Well, I'm sorry about all the money that they're trying to bilch out of you. That sucks. But Tita, you wanted to go last for some reason, of which I'm curious.
For 2 reasons.
2 reasons.
One is because I'm a greedy little fucker who could not decide between 3 entries to this category.
Okay.
And each of those 3 has a different reason, which I sort of realized as other people were going over there in like a parallel kind of way.
Okay. Interesting.
So, first off is a game that I think is in this category of games that suck, because I think it sucks, is Fallout 4.
Right.
Which is a game that is ostensibly a Fallout game, but does a pretty bad job of being a Fallout game.
It's more of a shooter.
Yeah. A lot of gunplay. And honestly, I think the gunplay is not terrible. It's a game I replayed this year after bouncing off hard the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I let myself get into the game, it was a bit more. I had a good time. I did a bunch of shoot bang stuff.
Pew pew pew.
I pursued quests, both main and side quests. Um, the writing in the game isn't very good. It's not as bad as the main quest in 3, but it's still not great. Especially considering they tried to juggle multiple faction quests like they did in New Vegas. Not even they, that was Obsidian, not Bethesda.
Bethesda does all of
The
them.
company that made this game.
I never even finished the main quest in Fallout 4.
I never started it.
I got bored with it.
You're probably better off. I don't like the things that the game feels like it's telling me to like, and I don't dislike it for the reasons the game gives me the option to dislike them.
Mm.
Game does not... In a game that feels... I bounced off of Fallout 1 and 2, because I'm a baby brain, and those are old games that I can't get past the UI for.
Same.
Played 3, played New Vegas, and I played this one. For a game series that feels like it's supposed to make you feel like you do the character like you want to, this game doesn't do that so well. As a matter of fact, if
Yeah.
maybe this is apocryphal, but from what I believe, they had to be talked into even letting you play as a lady in this one.
That would be bad. I hope that's apocryphal. I hope.
I mean, there are moments that seem like they forgot to go back and record lines when to refer to the player as a woman. There are moments where it seems like they just pre-established backstory stuff. The game is fun to play. It can be fun to do shoot. It can be fun to watch number go up. It can be fun to collect loot and play side quest. The game's bad. It's written poorly. I don't like the characters for the most part, and the characters I dislike. I dislike more characters than I think they intended me to, for reasons I think were not always intended.
Okay.
It's a fun game to play. It is a bad game, and I don't. I've heard that
game.
I guess 76 got updated to the point where it can be fun in a similar vein while still not being a very good game.
Apparently.
And being a pretty bad, and not really being a Fallout game at all.
So 76 is sort of not a Fallout game because it's MMOE, but so I started playing Fallout 4 on stream last year at some point, and it was because I started watching a YouTube channel, Epic Nate, who does Bethesda videos on hey, here's things you might not have noticed in this game, or here's some small interactions you might not have found, and they're very in depth, and they're very. I like those little stories and little tidbits. I'm like, those all sound fascinating, and I want to see those. So I started playing Fallout 4, and also a little bit of Skyrim on the side. But the stuff in Fallout that I got to see, I think I enjoyed, but that's because I was specifically seeking those things out. I knew where to go to find the things that I wanted because I was watching those videos.
Yeah, I mean, there's chunks of writing, even in 4, that are like, hey, I can get into this. It's just buried in a bunch of shit, basically.
That's fair.
Also, Fiona imposed a moratorium on not talking about a certain Zabad game developer. But similarly, this game does some dumb shit of
To be fair, I imposed a moratorium of putting any of his games on our lists.
That's fair.
Similarly to a certain Chicago turn into person. This game does some dumb shit using robot people as an allegory for minorities.
Yeah.
One of the factions in this game is literally the Underground Railroad, but for robots.
Check out our Detroit Become Human playthrough. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, you said it.
Yeah.
So on to the TT Hour Part 2. So Fallout 4 is a game that sucks because it sucks, similarly to how League of Legends sucks because it sucks.
The people suck.
Yeah, game sucks. Similarly to Zara picking Pathologic 2, Nier Replicant is a game that sucks at parts because intentionally so.
Mm-hmm.
Yoko Taro is a weird guy. I
Very.
have positive and negative thoughts about the way the man does things. Nier is very much aware of being an RPG and tries to fuck with you for trying to approach it like a normal one. You can grind to upgrade weapons, but it's a grueling process that doesn't really matter that much. You sure do reload a bunch of areas over and over again to refight enemies you otherwise just wouldn't encounter normally, like playing the game. And the most you get out of it is not the number go up, it's a cryptic sort of fable that is unlocked level by level as the weapon is upgraded.
That's what
Little weapon stories.
that's what kept me
The weapon
playing.
stories are one of the best parts of these games.
Yeah, that's what kept me
Um,
playing.
There's a segment that is you go to a forest where people are stuck sleeping, and every time you talk to one of them, you get pulled into their nightmare, which is to say the game briefly becomes a visual novel.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sails you with walls of text and then quizzes you on minor details in them.
Huh.
Or has you navigate a maze while not really telling you, like it doesn't even give you the old adventure game style. To the west you see this, to the north you see that. It barely gives you that. As you progress through the actual plot of the game, the monsters you fight, you realize they have more depth, and that just blindly approaching them as things to be killed, like the main character kind of knowingly does some cognitive dissonance to do, is a bad thing. The game tells you that fighting these things more than is necessary sucks because it doesn't want you to feel good about it. It wants to make it clear that doing things the way the main character is doing them is not a winning game for really anybody. And say what you will about actually playing it and how fun that is and how much you might actually want to do it again. But it's very intentional, and I think on that front, well done.
Reminds me of why I like Undertale's genocide ending.
Yes, it's like that, except Undertale is still kind of enjoyable to play, even if you're doing that. Like, not emotionally, but it doesn't lean on becoming a full-on slog to tell you to go fuck yourself.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's fair.
I mean, to some extent.
There's something to be said about like a game looking at like the normal thing in games where you the character go around and defeat the enemy is a thing that we see in so many video games, right? To the point where whenever a game is cool, like whenever a game is, I guess, heady enough to address that, I usually enjoy it as long as the game isn't too aggressive in its message. If that's fair, I guess. I like the same idea was I recently thought of like a tabletop campaign setting thing where like, what if this story happened 1 million times and there's no more of anything left to fight? Because at some point, like there's stories always say like, you know, there's always going to be good and evil to fight, but I think because of the finite number of stuff that exist, I would imagine at some point there's going to be nothing to fight, or that's what my head would imagine. And I think I want to make something with that, but I think games that like take that idea of like engaging with the activity that is heroism in many cases is destructive for more than just the party that you are destroying.
Yeah, I mean, even in like more less fantastical, more modern superhero stuff, it is a fantasy that you punch the bad guy, it knocks them out so they can be detained, and not like, you run the risk of like killing someone or ruining their life with one punch.
Right. I mean, that's a conversation I had about
It's a fantasy.
Final Fantasy 12. Y'all ever think about Final Fantasy games and how you just roll up to like animals' homes and start kicking their ass, and then like sometimes there's baby versions of those enemies, and you're like, did I just kill your parents?
Yeah, but fuck those puppies.
Yeah, you're for real. For sure. Speaking of fighting puppies, nah, that's not a real segue, but what about this?
Mario hates dogs. No, but so like Fiona did the Hitman 3,
Right.
and it's legitimately and genuinely enjoyable game. But the business practices kind of suck.
You mean the limited
I'm sure
time?
a lot of people have and could already say this better than I have, but Nintendo sucks in a lot of ways. Like, I
Yep.
like their games, but fuck them also.
Same reason I play
And
League.
this is kind of the biggest, most flagrant example of that. Well, maybe not, but it's the one that I know about in recent memory. Of, hey, here's some old games we're running on a subpar emulator, and they're available for a limited time. And I played them. I'm an asshole idiot. I'd never played Mario 64 except the old DS version, the original DS version.
Mm.
I'd never played Sunshine at all before, and it had been probably a decade since I played Galaxy. I played them, I enjoyed them, I got all of the stars or shines or sprites or whatever in each of them. They were enjoyable games. But the fact they are both limited time and just done worse than what someone could get for free, those factors combined with Nintendo's like extremely overzealous reaction to even any kind of fan content, let alone like actual emulation, kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
I think
This is from a very uneducated perspective of someone who still plays a lot of Nintendo games.
Nintendo shut down a Super Smash Brothers competition that was going to be online through somebody made an online platform for people to play Smash Brothers Melee through, right? It's called Slippy. You should play it if you want to play Smash. But Nintendo ordered a cease and desist and they cited loss of sales as part of their reason
For me.
for Super Smash Brothers Melee, the GameCube game. that nobody can buy right now.
And even if they could, it would be secondhand anyway, so it's not like Nintendo would get any of the money.
The best part is when the people running the competition and many of the competitors showed proof of purchasing. They had their copies of the games. Some had their receipts from when they bought them. Nintendo didn't care and said, you can't do it. Which is bonkers to me. Nintendo literally told them, you're not allowed to play the games that you own together because we know how you're going to do it.
Because we don't like the way you're
Chances
doing
are
it.
that's not like a legal thing that you can stop, but no one can fucking afford to take them to court.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, that's also the part. Like, legality and morality are not hand in hand by any means. But
no. I think
even the stuff that is entirely legal for people to be doing, Nintendo will come down hard on just because they have the weight hard on, because they have a weight to throw against it.
I mean, I guess technically Slippy is illegal because they're modifying the game to play it
That's
online.
not illegal.
But the thing is, like, Nintendo doesn't have to come down and be like, we support this. All they have to do is just pretend not to see it.
But no, it's
That's
their
it.
precious
That's all
IPs
you
that
have
they'll
to
leave in a
do.
vault.
Like, I understand why they cracked down on that one that was just like all of Mario 64 online.
That's
That
probably
makes sense to me. But just the ability to play a game on.
I guess. Oh no, yeah, you're right. Because modifying the game isn't illegal. So what are they actually getting you for? Because it wouldn't be like loss of, you're not. Are you making the product worse, which may hurt the company?
It's there's also something to keep in mind is I remember learning about this back when I was reading the Order of the Stick webcomic.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who makes that comic, Rich Burlew, he like
Oh yeah, I have to imagine
he
the
has
Wizards
to
is weird
he
about
has a specific a specific copyright on his work. I believe it's like a restriction. So it's
Mhm.
got the little R.
Yeah, restricted
He-
or reserved.
Because of that, if anyone takes his art and alters it, he is legally obligated to shut them down. He has to defend that. That is what he has to do. Like, he is legally obligated to go to them and be like, you have to take this down. You cannot alter my art directly.
I've heard from various lawyers that it is over exaggerated how much that is said, and you do not need
Could
to do
be.
that.
Mm.
But even
Probably
so,
not.
that is one webcomic artist
Yeah.
as opposed to a huge conglomerate.
And it's
I get
worth
what you're
noting
saying.
that it's only if you like literally like download the image or screenshot it and change things. If you like trace it and draw your own version of it, that's fine.
So
it
it
can
might
be
be a
this-
little hard to tell the difference.
Like, yeah, like my fan comic was totally, it could not. I mean, if he came after me, I would probably take it down. But like legally, there's nothing he can do because I haven't used any of his characters. I'm not
You
using
can't
his art.
copyright an art style.
Yeah, so it's just it's
I mean, guy, we're talking to a servbot right now on screen. I just put a Z on its
We
chest.
sure are.
yeah, I know. It's not I'm not overly comfortable with my branding decisions, but
It's
here we are.
Capcom doesn't remember that Mega Man
It's
Legends exists.
you are entirely correct.
We own this?
Capcom goes, oh, that thing that we put in a couple of the thing that's in Marvel vs. Capcom and fucking Dead Rising? Why do we
Me, John
even have
Capcom.
that?
I love your
Tron Bond.
I mean, listen,
nice strong bad. I really like your Lego robot costume.
there's a little Z on the chest, so we know that's Zara. It's wholly different.
It's
Yeah.
a Zerv
I
bot.
have a bow tie.
Yeah, it's a different character altogether. Capcom, come see me in the Denny's.
So that was that.
Mm.
Now we're going to talk about a game where definitely no part of the game or the people who makes it suck.
So
Why don't you tell us all about it, Words? Tell us about your favorite game of the year for the past 3 years.
Oh man,
I stole your fucking segue.
Where the hell?
my segue got stolen, and I'm gonna jump into the time stream with Yeek.
No, I get to do the segue because I'm an alternate words.
Oh
So it
fuck,
still counts.
that's fair.
Oh no,
We are
you're
all
the
wordsy
white
here.
wordsy.
Oh no. No, listen, we're all alternate words. We're all white
Yeah.
words.
Oh, okay, so wordsy's the black wordsy.
Yeah.
No, no. I am immediately regretting where I've taken the
Zara's the Canadian wordsy, Fiona's the girl wordsy. It's all working out. This is the best game I didn't expect to still be thinking about. So
Best game.
I'm just gonna let you fucking create your own rope to hang yourself in.
okay, so here's the thing. I think about Eek more than I think a lot of people do. There's a big fan community for it, which surprised me. Because I joined the Yeek Discord and I've been watching people post things and have theories and stuff like that. And we all know here that like we sat through a full playthrough, 1.5 I guess of Yeek. And there's an update that's coming that's going to, I guess, complete it entirely.
It's never coming out.
That's what they said about the last update, but it came out.
Mickey's never
Yeah, and it wasn't the whole update they promised. The update they promised is the update that still hasn't come out.
Look, they promised me a golden alpaca redo, and we got it. It was DC Douglas. It was
They
Wesker.
promised us ending changes.
Mickey's never.
Developer keeps trying to make Yeek happen. It's never gonna happen.
Listen. I gotta finish this. Okay, so I still think about Eek because I mean, as much as I don't like the character of Alex and sort of the character of Michael,
How do you feel about
Character?
Rory?
my favorite character is probably Vela.
He's the most likable one, arguably.
He's the most human of them.
Yeah.
I prefer Panda.
But Panda's Alex, and I don't like Alex.
Yeah, sure.
So
They're all Alexes.
they're not. Please don't say that. So I think about Eek a lot because I think while we were playing it, I repeatedly said Eek is a good game, even while saying Eek sucks.
And you fooled yourself after enough repetitions.
No, I didn't. When I look at the video game that is Yeek and I cover up the names and I don't look at the dialogue, I like what is in front of me. I like the visuals that Yeek has in front of it. It's kind of lumpy and ugly, but I enjoy it. I think it's
There's
like
pretty colors coming on Word's screen, and that's all he
Well,
needs.
that's
To be-
it's a lot. It's a big
To be
point.
fair to Words, I think you have a similar relationship to this game as I might. As I think, honestly, both of us probably have to Naruto as a whole,
A little
where
bit.
there is enough there that it's like, I hate this, but I can see all of the stuff that
I can see the good
like and
parts.
wish was better.
Yeah, I
and
wish
that makes me hate
Yeek's
the whole.
visuals are its most appealing thing.
and the visuals are striking because like multiple times at the beginning of the game and towards the middle point they kind of stopped doing it, but at the beginning of the game you go into that hotel and there's like a big pyramid with the sun behind it and like what the fuck is all this that I'm looking at, and it gets all wordy and bubbly farting out its ass with like dumb like
It gets all copyright infringy.
yeah, it starts talking about words that it doesn't understand.
Wait, are
and-
we in some sort of talk show? What's going on?
and like I really
It's gonna start quoting Ender's Game.
I like the parts of the game that strike visually, and there are concepts in the game that I think are interesting if not mishandled.
Parts that seem like someone is trying really hard to do something, but
Right.
not really getting it.
And
And it's that not getting there that seems to fascinate you.
well, and part of it is because this is like 90s early internet culture or whatever this is something that I was always like not at yet. I missed a whole bunch of it. So this game is exploring that stuff and a little bit, and it's interesting because the drive of the side quest of the game is a message board that you go to, and the whole internet's two places. Ugh. But like, the game was broken enough that it made it bad to play and I think experience.
I would actually say it being broken made it better to play because we didn't have to deal with fights.
It's true. The LP toss it's scaled stupidly, and you
The glitches that made the fights easy saved us a lot of trouble.
yeah.
Being
Except for the final bosses because you don't fight any of them.
Nope. Well, because if you fight them, you can glitch your game. So, like they did the rebalance patch or whatever, and it did change the combat. Like Rory is no longer useless. If he gets hit, he can absorb damage and deal a whole bunch back. So like they made more of the party useful so that like the separation of roles and like it became a real RPG in that. Claudio still kind of sucks, but oh well. It
Claudio had pretty good multi-target damage. It's just LP toss existed.
it's much better, yeah.
Overshadowed, yeah.
So like there's a it's like it tries to build this collection of characters that are like quirky and weird, and one of them is awful please connect to the internet, but I like the main character of this game is so bad, and I mean, no secrets. I've been buying bits and pieces to cosplay Alex
Oh my
for
fucking
Halloween. Because my hair is long enough to do it.
Wait. Okay, hang on. You said Alex?
Yeah.
You don't need long hair to do Alex.
His hair is like swooped to the side in the front. So like if my hair was normally cut like how I've had it for most of my life, it wouldn't work. But now I can do an Alex and it will look. I'll just be Black Alex, but whatever.
I think we saw one of those in the game.
It was a little boy. And
Right.
Yeah. But yeah,
It was the dead
it was the dead
brother of two
It was
other.
not.
party
It was
members
the
somehow.
missing.
The missing brother, yes.
Of Claudio and Shania.
You see the brother like on missing posters throughout the game, and then you actually go to the
To the island of Alex.
and it's like, oh look, it's the missing brother. He doesn't talk to you, and it's like, oh, you're an Alex. Terrible.
Fate worse than death.
Yeah, but the game has a ton of writing problems and a whole bunch of awful like character things and moments and racism and stolen words
Plagiarism.
that
A lot of isms.
a lot
the
of
Snaker brings up that he was never sure whether Alex was like how he was meant to be viewed, and even like a while after experiencing it and regularly thinking on it, I do not know if Alex is meant to be a likable character or not.
I don't think he is. He like when he has his like in every video game there is a hard moment. Like characters grow and they change as they soften up the story, but there's always a cutscene where it's a hard moment where the character is different now, and Alex's hard cutscene where he's different now is he floats in space for a while and goes, "I'm so blue," and then he decides I'm gonna be better, and then you go and defeat the shitty parts of Alex, and then fight the final boss, which is just proto Alex who sucks more, and
But also, he doesn't.
he doesn't.
Like-
Yeah,
You do it at the end of the game.
it's true, but like Alex never. Like he says he's gonna change and he says he's gonna do all this stuff, but he's never really different. The moment where he's supposed to be changed and different, like people just suddenly start going, "Wow, Alex, you're so much different now," and I don't see it personally.
The fact that you can do what is done to Rory and the game does not really change its treatment of the character is still fucking like horrendous.
Yep, you can. I mean, this game sucks. We can spoil this. Like, so for people who don't know and maybe haven't seen it, there's a character in that game named Rory who can commit suicide if you use the wrong dialogue with him, and the dialogue is very apparent. Alex basically goes, "Maybe you should kill yourself," and then he does. And that's just it. That's what they put in the game.
It's if you're mean to him more than you're nice to him, right?
No, there's a specific.
I think you have the choices, but I think that one dialogue choice is what
It's
Yes,
just that one
it's just that
dialogue
one dialogue choice, because the only other thing, because there's no branch, the only other thing that being nice to them can get you is you can have that one graphic
Yeah,
where they're
I know.
kissing or whatever. But
I assumed it was It's like whether if you're nice to him, you get to kiss him. If you're mean to him, he kills himself.
Nope. It's very dumb. Yeah, it's the game isn't the best thing in
Good.
the world. I still maintain that it's good because the setting, the concept, and some of the characters and the visuals are all good, or at least to me they are. So I those are enough to me to call it a good game. But the parts that
I have problems with the setting.
that's fair. The problems that exist in the game, the inciting incident, and what that takes its inspiration from, those are all horrendous and gut churning. And those are the things that make me always say, whenever I talk about Eek, I never want another person to play Eek, but I will play it because I want to, and I think other people shouldn't because it's bad. But yeah, that I still think about it, and if this other update does ever come, I'm gonna play it again, and I will extend the same invitation to my fellow co-host here. If you would like to sit with
In
me,
Words' defense, the
feel
last
free.
time the update came out, we only did the stuff he knew had changed,
yeah,
and then he himself off screen did the fucking hours put in to see if anything
Right,
else.
stream all of Yeek again.
Before-
we would never
before-
stream all of it again.
Words
I-
isn't a monster.
No, yeah, we're like if the update does come out, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm gonna get to the new parts. I'm gonna make a save before, and then I'm going to load it up, and then we'll see what's new. But that is my game, and that is me defending Geek once more. Zara, please talk about a good game.
Yeah, let's talk about a game in which you commit widespread acts of pollution and environmental destruction and feel absolutely no guilt for it.
Right.
Satisfactory is a game that exists in my mind at all times at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Which I didn't really expect it to. Like, I always like crafting games. Like, I love Minecraft. I like Terraria. I like all that stuff.
Mm.
Satisfactory, you don't affect the actual like landscape at all. Like, you don't have landscaping tools whatsoever. Maybe they'll add it in the future, but it doesn't seem like that's a priority for them at all. But so all you're doing is just you're going to resource nodes, you're extracting resources, you're putting them together to make parts, you're using those parts to put together with other parts, and you're making more advanced parts. And it's all kind of feeding into one another like that. Something about this game scratches an itch in my brain that just, it's like dopamine. Like, I can't stop thinking about planning factories and thinking about logistics. I have literally had, like, this game has kept me awake at night thinking about conveyor belts zigzagging through my walls.
Just like me with Geek.
It's, I mean, to put it in perspective, the most amount of hours I have on any video game on Steam is Dark Souls, the first one, with 250 hours on record. And this has been the case for years. Like, I played a ton of Dark Souls back in like 2013, 2014. And so I poured tons of hours into it back then. So it's been at the top of my list for almost a decade at this point. Satisfactory is coming up behind it very quickly. 25 more hours and Satisfactory will overtake it.
And it's been out for like a year or two in early access.
I think it's been out in early access for like about 2 years now. And I mean, the game, there's still like 3 more major updates until it's actually in like the full release. So there's a ton of content. I recommend it to anybody who likes, crafting games, because it's a lot of fun. Not everybody is going to have the same obsession with it that I do, but yeah, it's just, I can't stop thinking about it. And it's going to end up my most played game before too long. I know that for sure. And I'm okay with that. No other game I have poured this many hours into in such a, well, maybe not, but it feels like I have poured a lot of hours into a very short amount of time.
So you're saying you can't get this game out of your head?
No.
It's sort of like an earworm. Time for the best soundtrack.
Yeah.
This game soundtrack I didn't think to still be thinking.
First page for Doc. Only 2.5 pages to go.
We're fine. We can move through things. We got a bunch of categories because I thought of a bunch, but I mean, I can go over mine real quickly. So Satisfactory is something I want to play one day, but what I really want to play one day, because I started it and never finished it, is Nier Replicant, a game that I think has some of the best music I've ever heard in a video game. I don't know what it is about Nier music, but it rips from beginning to end. I love it. It's always cool. Maybe it's just because it's orchestral music, like over top of big violence, but it makes me feel epic, for lack of a better word. So yeah, every time I pop in a Nier game, I'm always like, yeah, and I start slicing, and I just keep going. But yeah, Nier Replicant had one of the best soundtracks of the bit I played of it, and Nier Automata would have probably been my pick before. But that's all I got. Zara, what's up?
I guess this should really come as no surprise, but Legend of Mana, a very old game that had a new release last year, and there's something about the Legend of Mana music and the soundtrack that I keep coming back to constantly. Just every now and then, it's like I gotta listen to these songs again. They were all composed by Yoko Shimomura, who, I mean, I don't think she's ever made a bad soundtrack. Like, she's done several of like several of my favorite video game soundtracks, like Mario RPG, Legend of Mana, King of Dragons when she was with Capcom. Just fantastic. Plus, she's done like Xenoblade Chronicles. She's done all the Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 15, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. So she's been all over the map, and it's all just great, fantastic, amazing music, and the music in Legend of Mana helps transport you to this other world, and it's very good.
As any good music should do, it should probably take you somewhere within the space.
Yeah.
What if music was the space, though? TC, what's this about?
No Straight Roads is a game about a band fighting other bands to prove that rock as a genre is, like, cool still, as opposed to, like, kind of a monolithic citywide empire built on EDM music. Ostensibly.
The setting in this
several
game
different
is
genres.
bonkers. It's EDM plus X something, usually.
Yeah, every genre gets the EDM tacked onto it. My brain is bad at focusing on one thing at a time. I have to trick my brain into paying attention to things sometimes by putting on white noise. So a lot of the time I'm playing a video game, I also put on a podcast or a video or stream or something. So for a lot of games, I don't just straight up hear the soundtrack, and so I'm not always so good at paying attention to that kind of thing. No Straight Roads, by the virtue of that music being both important thematically, what's the word for it happening in universe?
Diegetically.
And also, like, the timing for enemy attacks. Makes you listen to it, and it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is.
Versus Sayu is probably one of the best video game songs I've ever heard.
I come back to that one pretty regular.
Me too.
And I'm also a baby brain who is bad at listening to things that don't have lyrics, which is why I don't click a lot with video game soundtracks. Because my brain doesn't click to background music or orchestral stuff
Yeah.
or that kind of thing a lot.
That's why I like Guitar.
But this game also has a lot of that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I also find myself listening to Versus Yinu a lot.
That's another really good one. That fight
That's
fucking
for
sucks.
reference. Versus Sayu is a very. It's like an extremely. It's like a It's like a proper EDM sort of pop song
Yeah,
that's really
Yeah.
energetic in like the latter third of it.
it's J-pop plus EDM, and it's so catchy.
That is the
Yeah.
most overt EDM one, I think.
That,
The first guy.
DJ Supernova, yeah.
Yeah, but Versus Yinu is like a very intricate piano heavy piece. It is very. I am bad at describing my reactions to music, but it is very good.
Versus Yino, so Yino is like one of the later fights that you do.
She's like the middle one.
Yeah. Well, it's after. Yeah, you do two first, but Yinu is cool to me because that fight has like greater plot. I mean, narrative significance, like within its own boundaries. Like as the fight goes on, the piano
Sort of grows and fades in time with
yes,
his sort of helicopter parenting stage.
Right.
And then comes back full force at the end when Yinu kind of asserts herself.
Which is awesome. It's so cool hearing like the soundtrack.
The flow of the story in a non-verbal.
Yes. It is such a satisfying thing to hear, and I think anybody who plays that game will hear that. I think
I will say, if you're going to play that game, Switch port's pretty janky. Try getting it on PC.
I believe it's on Steam now.
Yeah. And I think they're coming out with some updated version that maybe plays a little better, so maybe wait for that if it's not already out.
Yeah, it's and also the main characters are cool. I like Zook and Mayday.
There's a lot of very cool design in that. And it's what is it? Malaysian?
Malaysian, yeah.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of Malaysian influence in games here. And they do that in this game, both overt and otherwise.
You wouldn't actually know there's a lot of Malaysian influence until you get in the game a bit, and it's really like, it's really neat.
There's a side boss who is a rapper, who does a very like.
DK West.
It's both rap and like a Malay traditional like vocal thing.
Mm-hmm. It's
either man.
And he speaks Malay the entire time with subtitles.
It's
except when he's singing.
There that mini game boss fight is really cool because it uses the like a Guitar Hero.
Probably one of the harder things in the game.
Yeah, but it uses like Guitar Hero or maybe like DDR style like scrolling movement thing that you have to do, and it makes pictures and words in the patterns that you have to like get around that are cool. I don't know. I think that's cool.
I guess to sum it up a little bit, I have a hard time paying attention to soundtracks in games unless they are like an overt part of it.
Mm.
And aside from some issues I have with this game's gameplay, I think it does that very well.
Mm. I think that's good. Now it's time for a different kind of
the Encore Edition. Apparently that is out on Steam. Thank you.
Yes, please go grab that if you can. It's time for the worst game bar none. So, Zara, only mean you have something for this category, which is fine. What was the worst game to you, Zara?
So, the worst game for me was a game that I didn't actually play, but I watched other people play it, and I noticed a pattern.
I just played it.
Everyone that I have seen play this game gets frustrated with it because in 12 minutes, it's basically like a mystery puzzle game, which is fine.
With a
We're in a time loop. Yeah,
Yep.
it's an interesting concept. But it very quickly gets to the point where the player knows how to solve this mystery, or like the player knows what's going on, but the game won't let you progress until you rub the correct items onto the other correct items, like an old school adventure game. And it just becomes it loses
a time limit.
yeah, and like it immediately breaks the disconnect between like, okay, I'm solving this mystery into I need to find out what the game wants me to do to progress this. And it's just like, it's so disappointing because, and then it's got like this big name voice actors, which like where you and I just talked about it already, that none of them need to be there.
Me, Fiona, and Wordsy were also talking about this a bit in the prep for today's stream.
I need to say something real quick. So, hi, I'm Wordsy. I voice act, like, I audition for stuff, and I voice act for commercials and stuff sometimes. And I would say I'm a professional voice actor, right? I've been paid for it before. Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Voice acting is essentially you want a person to embody a character and give you a performance that you can do. The performance, the people that they got to voice act in 12 minutes are Willem Dafoe, James McAvoy, and Daisy Ridley. The only reason they got these people is because they're big names, right? I don't understand why they picked them, because James McAvoy and Daisy Ridley sound like the just generic white people. You could have gotten anybody.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
sure-
Willem Dafoe at least sounds like Willem Dafoe.
You good, bud?
I'm choking on my hatred. It's really like I just beat 12 minutes. I 100%ed it, and I did not run into the problems I was talking about until the very end, where I did not click on one thing to trigger a slightly different version of dialogue. Because if you don't click on that one thing, it just loops again, and there's a specific sequence to leave the game and finish it. I so desperately don't understand. Like, there's little bits and pieces of this game where I'm wondering, like, why doesn't this solve the puzzle? Because one of the things somebody suggested while I was streaming it was leave MacGuffin on table. Maybe bad guy will take MacGuffin, and he just walks past it to kill you.
Yeah.
So like
It
doesn't respect
breaks,
its own rules.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, but and at first it feels like, okay, there's all these different possibilities that I can do with this time and all these different things that I can play around with. But as you play the game, all of those things just kind of peel away until you're like, okay, I need to do this one thing, period.
It's there's a direct path through with lots of branches that lead to dead ends.
And all this isn't even talking about like the horrific
Horrendous
abuse
twists.
that you can do to your significant other.
That is seemingly at times necessary in some spots.
Yep.
You don't have to ever abuse, like, you don't ever have to kill your significant other.
Yeah, but you have to feed her
Drug
sleeping
them.
pills.
Yeah.
You can technically get around that one, but
But that is an intended solution.
that is an intended solution.
It is. And then there's the big old cherry on top, which I will not go into.
So
The twist.
real quick, I
Oh
want to
boy.
talk about time ethics. So while I
An
was
hour and a half in. Oh,
two
Yeah.
hours. So while I was playing this game on stream, I was talking about this. Like, if I do this thing that's in the game, this intended solution, but it just sends me back to before that happened, in my head, it didn't happen.
You're aware
and
of
you
it.
still did it.
I'm aware
On
of
your
it.
flavor of time travel, right?
That means it
does.
happened.
I guess, but to them it didn't.
There are no consequences, but
No.
to you it happened.
It's
I mean, also to your wife for a while it happened. Like, if someone stops existing, were their experiences before they stopped existing important? I mean, to some, killing someone makes them not exist. If you kill someone, does the pain you have caused them no longer matter?
I guess in my like because of the conceit of this game, like if because I wanted to, when I was playing the game on my own, I wanted to see logical conclusions. So I picked up the knife and stabbed myself like 55 times, and then I did the same thing
Yes.
to the significant other and then to the home invader. And like they figured somebody might do that because there's dialogue for it. Like there's a point where your character gets so used to it that he goes, "What's up?" and he starts making quips, and it's awful.
But
But
like, stabbing yourself and stabbing the home invader both make sense. You are a person who has is consenting to doing this, knowing the full consequences and what will happen out of it.
mm,
And stabbing the
Alternatively-
home invader he's a home invader who's going to fucking kill you.
right,
Yeah.
stabbing the wife is a slightly faster puzzle solution.
Or alternatively, something you will do because, like, okay, if I do this, will it advance something somehow? I've been
Right,
through the same loop like 10 times and nothing's
Yeah.
changed no matter what I click on.
right, and
Like,
I
is killing my wife a thing that the game requires me to do once?
nope, it doesn't. It's just a permutation that they thought of. But while I was playing it, I kept thinking she's just gonna be fine. So here we go again. Like I I at some point I stopped feeling bad about doing things because I'm just going to walk back into this room and then it's gonna be all back to normal.
I feel like partly that's less of a time ethics question and more of a game design question.
Yeah.
How many times do I have to do a thing to a character before I stop caring about anything that happens to the character?
It's I don't know. That I think overall that game is probably not super hot. But the
No,
time
that's a different thing.
the time loop concept and I am impressed by the number of things that they thought to include. Even if there are things that I thought of and other people in the chat thought of that they did not include, which made me confused. But yeah, it's you know, it's
Also, there's a bit of writing in that game that is very much like, but my mom's name was also Martha.
Yeah.
a little bit. Why did you say that name?
Speaking of ethics,
Speaking of ethics, so hey, we played the Tomb Raider series on this channel, and it killed my computer, and my hard drive, and a whole bunch of stuff on it.
And words in this game have been in a blood feud ever since.
It was free on the Epic Store for Christmas, so I grabbed it, and I haven't booted it up because I'm afraid. But so shout
I'm
out,
entirely certain it was coincidental.
probably. So here's the thing: shout out the
I
Tomb
don't know,
Raider.
that second game had some, like, apparent repeated issues that we found in searching.
So here's the thing: the Tomb Raider series is a cool idea, and they did a lot of interesting little things here and there. But unlike Yeek and unlike 12 Minutes, I don't care about them enough because there's not enough of them to make me like the rest of the game, and the rest of the game feels miserable.
It's a fucking wild thing. Okay, so to take a step back out here,
Mhm.
I don't think, no offense, Worthy, but I'm not entirely sure we can like accept, because I think the computer problems very much are bringing it all down for you.
The third game for sure. The second game,
The second game is bad.
it's
Yeah, the
the
second game sucks.
the second game was like, because there's a in the first game I was all excited. I was like, oh, this is cool, and the crew and the characters, like, it's a fun little adventure, and Laura's here, and I was hopeful towards the future. And then the second game kicked me in the nuts and threw me in a hole and was like, fucking dig.
Pounded
I
stigmata
will
in
say
your
you
hands.
have the third game on here, so
And like the second game made me upset because of Jesus, but the third game made me upset because we couldn't finish it, and I think it was the most interesting of the three, honestly, story wise. But I also think
Laura Croft is a fucking Terminator, and it's hilarious.
it's really funny, but I think I I think I was sour because the game did not the game because of the way the game ends in the fight at the end. I was like, this seems whack, but maybe I just wanted to play it. I think my feelings are still my feelings though about it. Like, I still think those two games I like more than this game.
And you're entitled to that opinion.
Mhm.
You're entitled to that entirely wrong opinion.
That's fine. It was the worst game that I played because my computer died. And I can't ever.
Just saying,
Get
if your
that
hard
back.
drive got corrupted during Eek, that would be in this slot.
No, it wouldn't. 'Cause
Or
I
would words double down and like defend Yeek even harder?
Well, because I would still because even if that game didn't kill my hard drive, I would still find the concepts and stuff in Yeek more interesting than Tomb Raider.
We just might have a different game in this category for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most excited for. So, instead of talking about games that we didn't like, let's talk about games that we are excited that is going to happen. And I, for one, am excited for Forspoken because I saw a trailer for it and it looks so dope, and I want to play as more black people in video games. Those are all of my reasons. It looks like it's gonna move.
Which one was that? Is that the Isekai thing?
Yes, it's an isekai, but you have cool movement powers, so I'm sold. It's probably what I want out of Warframe, but I can play it on a controller.
You can and do play Warframe on a controller.
I play Warframe on a controller plus a floor keyboard.
What's Warframe?
Nope, gonna let it go.
But I can play this one with just my controller, so it'll probably feel a lot better to play.
You don't know that. Maybe you fucking have to rebind something to your floor keyboard because it doesn't work with your brain.
I want to play Warframe with a Rock Band drum set.
Oh boy, that'll be a time.
That'll be fun. But I mean, Fiona could be right, and maybe I will have to pull out the floor keyboard, but hopefully I won't. Hopefully I'll just be able to play it with my controller because it looks really cool. And again, black protagonist, I'm all about it. Up next, Zara. What the hell is this?
I mean,
We've
Say it like that.
seen the previous game.
yeah, you've literally been there.
I know.
Um,
It has a
So-
3 on it.
it has a 3 on it. It also, they've been making these games for like close to a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Warhammer Total War is really good. A little bit of a rocky start. Warhammer or Total War Warhammer 2.
It's the worst
is-
title for a game.
It's so bad. It's so bad. The title is awful, but the game is really good.
Total Warhammer.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand. Probably branding issues. But anyway, they released the second game. Second game is really good. They've released an absolute ton of DLC for it. Probably too much DLC. But most of the DLC is pretty good too, actually. And it really just, like, they've really gotten into the stride of these games now and the balance, more or less. So the third game looks incredible, and it's only just going to add more stuff. Eventually, it'll add all of these new factions to the world map, so you can play on the entire world with all of these factions and wait for hours at a time for turns to go by. But it's just this is another game. The second one is another game that I have poured many hours into, and I will probably do the same with this one when it comes out. And because the other game that I would there's basically 2 games on my Steam wish list that I'm like I would consider pre-ordering. This is one of them because I'm pretty confident that it's going to be good. The other one is Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly,
The difference is the difference is that Warhammer has a release date.
yes.
I know
I think
that
if
this
any
game
of
is
us-
coming out in a month.
I think if Silksong had a release date, that might be at least like 3 or 4 of our entries. for this.
That would have been mine.
I think if I believed that Silk Song would go. I say that. I don't believe the game that I put on this list is coming out this year, so.
You know what,
But
Fiona?
yeah, I'm very, very excited for this game, and I will probably be streaming it and playing it a lot.
I can't wait
in
to
the
watch it
coming
and watch these
times.
fucking rats betray you again. Oh no, they were your only friend and it sucked. But
I'll be playing demons this time.
okay, cool. Fiona, since you spoke up, what's this? What's this game?
Okay, so.
What's going?
In fucking. Oh, God. How long ago was it?
In the before times, long, long ago.
Give me a second. Yeah, I'm real prepared, you see.
We're professionals here, and because this is a definitive list, and these are the games of the year for these categories, you know,
Oh man.
you can't. This is just the truth. We have to be sure we are correct and get the right information about them.
So, in 2013, maybe 2012,
Jesus Christ.
I backed a game on Kickstarter called Ghost Song Journey of Hope. It's a Metroidvania. It looks a lot like Super Metroid and clearly takes a lot from it. And it's gone through about 5 engine changes. If you look on its Kickstarter, it says estimated delivery May 2014.
Oh!
Wow.
Yo, Fiona, I don't know if you're getting that money back.
And they've just released an update saying 2022 is our year. I can't release any sure updates yet, but we're getting there. And I do not believe this game is coming out this year.
Fiona, I got to applaud you for putting this on your most excited for list, because there are people who have waited less time for better things, maybe, or worse things.
Yeah, I definitely put this game on this list and wasn't just talking about it, and then you put it on this list for me.
Fiona, listen, the votes were in already. We couldn't change it. I understand. I hope it comes out. Oh, it is like Star Citizen. Shit. Man. I don't like Star Citizen, but
You can play Star
I
Citizen.
mean, it's not like Star Citizen because it didn't cost $1 billion.
you know what else isn't like Star Citizen? Dinosaurs, TT.
They're not. Sorts.
Dino DNA.
I know they're
Don't
not.
have DNA.
I know they're not dinosaurs.
So, Horizon Zero Dawn was a good game. I liked the main character. I liked a lot of the side characters. I liked playing it. I liked the enemy designs. I really liked the way the writer, one of the main writers for Horizon Zero Dawn, wrote probably one of the only good things wrote one quest in Fallout New Vegas DLC Honest Hearts, and it's probably the only good part of that DLC, or at least one of the very few, where that quest sort of explains some of the... It is a pre-war account that sheds light on some of the surrounding stuff and how it is the way it is.
Hmm.
And I think the writer does a very good job of that again, but with the entire setting of Horizon Zero Dawn. finding out the mystery of how not only do I think the apocalypse in this game was interesting, I think the characters' responses to the apocalypse and what they set up to try and combat it was unique and interesting. I think it is interesting how things to see the before and after in a very cool way. This game, I talked about it in Hypnospace Outlaw before. This game also had what I think is one of the most intentionally angry a character in a game has made me in a long time.
I never finished it, but I should go back and finish it.
And I wasn't super interested in all of the antagonist stuff, but there was a good amount of it that I was interested in. And the trailers of Forbidden West seem like they're leaning harder into the stuff I was interested in. So I'm excited to see it more.
I'm excited to
Time to draft the Assassin's Creed tower to unlock stuff on the map.
Get on top of the tall boy.
It's a giraffe with a fucking radar dish head.
It sure is.
It's so big.
I just find the world building in these games very interesting, and I'm hoping the sequel does cool stuff with it too.
It's also just fun to play.
It probably will.
Yeah.
The last one was pretty fun as I played through it.
I don't like it, and I don't have any reason why I didn't like it, but I'm glad other people did.
Yeah, people.
It's fine. There's definitely criticisms to be lobbied at certain aspects of it. Similarly to certain aspects of the Honest Art DLC.
I mean, it's not even that. I fought like the first big dinosaur, and I didn't enjoy it.
I think you've mentioned before not totally enjoying the weapon play.
Yeah.
I had to
I
get
can see
some upgrades to enjoy some of the bigger dinosaurs because I was like the first level stuff just fucking
I
blows.
enjoyed fighting the big monsters, at least the first time it happened. It got a little repetitive, but the really huge ones were still fun the first few times. Amazing.
I like doing it with, like, once I had upgrades, I was having fun because I was darting around and doing all sorts of stuff. Speaking of doing stuff, I talked about Doc Squiddy on a different stream, who is the writer behind Adios, who is my best indie. It is possibly the best written game I've ever played. It's not in my best writing category, but it is just some good old-fashioned dialogue-driven narrative within a very low-key and relatable world that is, you know, if you've ever watched a good movie and people talk to each other and you remember those conversations, that is what Adios is. Because I remember a lot of those conversations and the setting they took place in because of those conversations, and a horse that ate infinite apples.
Of course, did love those apples.
It's an excellent horse.
Yeah, Adios is a really good game, and if you haven't played it, give it a shot. It's well worth the try. Especially
honestly, I probably could have put this in as the best game I hadn't played myself.
If you just like narrative, like, just give it a shot. It rules, and there's multiple endings and stuff too. Speaking of ending things, or destroying them at least, hey Zara.
Everybody go play Teardown.
Okay.
That's it. That's my promotion. This game is incredible. I love it.
We tear things down.
You can blow up everything. You don't have to, but you can. The development team is 2 guys, and they've made this game. I mean, they made the first half of it, which was pretty much a game in its own right. Like, I was entirely satisfied with what they had in the game to begin with, and now they've just released another huge content update with like the second half of the campaign. Like, there's in no world is this game not worth the money in my mind. But it's so much fun busting stuff up, but then on top of that, coming up with a plan to, you know, do this heist. And so working through the whole thing in your mind, and then realizing, okay, I've got to shave a few seconds off of this, so what can I do differently? Well, I can, you know, park this truck here and put a couple planks across and use that as a platform. And there's no wrong way to to do what you want to do to play this game. And if you just want to mess around and, you know, build stuff and blow stuff up, go nuts. There's a whole sandbox. Plus there's mod support. It's incredible. Like, it's, as far as an indie game goes, it's like it's blown my mind. It's amazing.
So it's a puzzle game with puzzles that you can like solve over time, and it's clear, like, you know, your choices and decisions usually make sense because you figured something out. And it's
a puzzle game in which you have a set of tools that you can do pretty much anything you want with, and you can solve this puzzle in an infinite number of different ways, whatever works for you. And, you know, sometimes that means just blowing a bunch of holes through walls, and other times it means building a complex series of planks and ropes.
You got a car tethered to the wall. Do you drive off and beat the alarm in a time? Do you carve the tether off of the car? Do you carve the tether off the wall? What's your plan?
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's just good. And it constantly, like, each level, you know, there's some repetition within the levels, but some of the levels are just like you're doing something completely different in this level. It's just a completely different set of rules. You're doing something different. Off you go. And then, you know, you can go back and replay all the previous levels. There's sandbox modes. Just as far as an indie game goes, I've been more than impressed.
It's like voxel, like
Yes, it's
sprites
all-
too.
yeah.
Right? So like it's got
But even despite that, it looks fantastic.
interesting.
It is a beautiful game.
I will probably pick it up because it I saw you play it and I was like, that looks like a lot of fun. I just gotta
It's-
pick it up at some point.
Yeah. It's very, very good. I recommend it to everybody.
You said it's 2 people?
Yeah, the development team is 2 people.
That's always impressive when you can tell a
Yeah.
game has like a lot of heart behind it. Speaking of heart, Fiona.
Okay, so you can probably guess what game this is kind of aping just by looking at it.
I'm
Little bit.
No.
Taking my breath away.
That's wild, B.
I'm going.
So Ocean Heart is, if I would describe it as sort of an indie version of Wind Waker, except using the standard 2D Zelda formula.
Okay.
And it's got some issues, but it's extremely well polished for a game that I have heard literally no one else talk about. And I ended up fully 100%ing it over the course of like 3 days, doing nothing else. And
That sounds engrossing as hell.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. It scratched the itch that I have not had basically anything except Zelda scratch before.
Huh. I mean, I was taking a look at this because I thought it might make a good QA game, but I might just want to play it alone.
I mean, if we still had the old gimmick of playing games like other games, it would make a good Zelda. But...
I can bring back a gimmick for one stream, whatever. It looked really cool when I looked at it. I did not know that you 100% in 3 days. Fiona, that's what I did with Kingdom Hearts. Like that is an impressive level of dedication. It makes me think this game, there's more to it than what I just saw on the surface.
Say it lends itself well of just incrementally upgrading itself and getting more and more stuff.
Okay.
Like it's very easy to start in very small and then just fall into it doing everything.
But as these new things get layered on top, like the complexity, it adds to the game. It doesn't take away from the game.
I don't actually even know if I'd say it gets more complex, as just things start fitting together and you want to start doing more and more of them.
Okay. So not more complex, just like the keys fit together well, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Speaking of complexity, though, what's this about?
Oh, I understand now. I thought you were giving me an honest question, but no. Is all I am to you a segue?
Aw. I segued off of Zara too.
It happened to me too, and I saw it coming.
Hey TT, what's up? Are you just gonna leave my segue hanging there?
Dice or cubes with 6 sides, like a cube has. And they have dots 1 through 6 on each of them, each of those sides.
They represent numbers.
They do.
Yes. So Dicey Dungeons is the game where you play a game show of going through a dungeon with abilities triggered off of rolling dice against a personification of fate who wants to keep you trapped there.
Right.
I don't really know how much I have to say about this, other than it's very fun, and I did not really expect to like the gameplay as much as I did, but I really did. Different classes have different numbers you want to aim for, or ways to roll the dice, ways to use them, and the writing in there is fun and cute, and you can do a lot of intricate stuff with this. So it's a roguelike. Sometimes you get a better setup than others, but and you know, the inherently random nature of rolling dice. But it's a fun time. There's lots of mechanics that are deceptively simple. You can stack them to really ruin some enemies' days, but some enemies are resistant to them.
Could say
It is intricate but approachable, I guess is the way I would say it.
could say it could get a little complex. No.
But also, like, what was it? I think it was level 4 or 5 as the witch, as the knight. But other than that, I had a really good time with it.
I am bad at that game, and it's so big. I want to get back to it because it does seem like a lot of fun. Just didn't get very far.
But the writing in it was pretty good too. To talk about good writing, words.
Why are you doing this to me now? What did
I did it to you before as well.
That's true. I keep getting
Now, words. If you were going to do some kind of dance in like an idyllic location,
why am I getting dunked on? I think one of the best writing stories
it's a
that
Thursday.
But one of the best writing stories I experienced was Disco Elysium. I still think Adios is better written, but Disco Elysium is a damn sight close. It is one of those games that I don't want to ever spoil because it is about your personal journey through it. And while I could attempt we'd be here for much longer than we have time for. So if you haven't gotten a chance, try Disco Elysium out. It's well worth it. It starts off a little. It's a little. How do I put this? Starting the game off, I felt a little groggy, like I was trying to feel my way through the darkness, and
From what I understand of the game, that seems entirely appropriate.
bada boom. But I think as I played more and more, I just got sucked further and further into this very, very good character who is very, very terrible. And not like Alex terrible, where I don't like them. I like the character in Disco Elysium that we get to see the story through because he is terrible in an interesting way, in a human way. And it's, I don't know, I think about the characters in this game quite a bit because it's good stuff. But yeah, Disco Elysium's real good. Give it a shot. Hey, Zara, I think there's a mistake. We already had this on the list.
We did. I talked about it earlier, but yeah, Pathologic 2 is a ride. The gameplay, as I mentioned already, is designed to kind of make you suffer, and that all feeds into the big picture. But it's also... It's a foreign game. The developers are Russian. So there may be some small issues in translation. The original Pathologic had some pretty big translation problems. Pathologic 2 is good. Like, it's translated well, but everyone, it's like all the characters are like talking in like soliloquies, and It is strange. Like everything about the game puts you into this like weird, almost dreamlike state where people are talking about things that sometimes barely make any sense, but like it kind of makes sense, and they've crafted such a world that there's basically like a language in the game that characters will constantly pluck and use words from that are all like either based on a real language or it's taken directly from a real language, but it's like they keep using these words over and over, and as you play the game you kind of start to learn what they mean. And it's just, I don't know, it's really hard to describe, but it's everything adds up to make this whole game feel very unsettling and otherworldly, but at the same time a very personal game, a very personal story. And it's also, the game has its like a storyline that's going on, but it also has a lot to say about the relationship of the player to the character that you are playing in the game. In like a meta textual narrative. It's like the only real way that I can describe Pathologic 2 is that it is a stage play in video game form.
That's very strange because what you described before.
It's weird, but yeah, there's really no other game out there like Pathologic 2, and I recommend. would love to see what other people think of it, but it is definitely not a game for everyone.
Speaking of a game that's not for everybody, but for quite a few people, hey Fiona, why does The New War have the best story?
We're here again.
Welcome back.
We'll be here again and again. So, like, at its core, I have argued this with other people who play this game, and they have argued against me, and they are wrong. Warframe is a game about basically entirely about family, of like writing wise, of like found and born and family that you can keep and family that you should throw away. And New War, I didn't always trust that the devs saw that the same way as I did, but New War has really made it clear that they're on that exact same page as I am, with some really excellent villain writing. And the story didn't go where I thought it would, but it went kind of where I didn't know I wanted it to. But I did.
Normally you're pretty good at sniffing that stuff out, so that's surprising to me. Huh. Neat. I want to play it now more. But games can't all be just, box standard good or bad. Sometimes they're just kind of weird. Right, guys? So let's talk about the strangest games we played.
Why is the
It's
M like
strange.
that?
Because I made it weird.
Okay.
It does not work with
It
a
really
four-letter
doesn't
word.
just look like one typo.
It does look like one typo, but I did that on purpose.
If it was a 5-letter word, it'll look fine. If it was the whole thing, it'll look fine. It does not work on a 4-letter word.
The strangest gummy.
It's the
I
gummies.
made a strange game.
So the strangest game that I had played in this past year was The Call of Karen. I'm just gonna describe the setting, and that's it.
QA.
It wasn't yet. So
Yeah.
No.
The Call of Karen is a game where you play as a 1960s, 1950s housewife who your house is slowly being taken over by Cthulhu. And you just kind of do your routine as you're as more and more shit starts happening around your house and like books start floating and monsters start showing up, but you're like more worried about Caddy Johnson down the street has a better vacuum than me. This is bullshit. And I I adore this game because it's very silly, but I think I think there's something charming about it. Like it's very repetitive, but I think there's something charming about it to the point where I legitimately think I enjoy it to that I would probably buy it again if somebody wanted it or something. But yeah, Call of Karen is cool in my opinion. But other things are cool like Portals.
So I didn't really know what to put for strangest game. Originally, I had this as one of the best games I haven't played, but in the last like few days, I have played this game, and it's weird. Um, Lemnis Gate is it's like it's basically a hero shooter, but you're playing every person on the team one turn at a time, and the
Oh, I
whole
think I
round
saw some
lasts
of this.
25 seconds.
It's so interesting. Zara was telling me about this. I need to play it.
So in 25 seconds, you pick a hero, and you play through, do whatever your objective is. You're the only person on the map. Then your opponent picks a hero, and they do the same thing. So in those 25 seconds, they do whatever they want to do, either respond to you or do a different objective or whatever. And then you take turns going back and forth, each choosing a hero and building on that. So by the end of the round, you've got 5 people on each side that are all like pre-recorded bots of what you did on your turns. And it sounds interesting, but then once you start getting into it, you realize once you start thinking ahead, you can set up plays in advance. Or you can, like, if you play one character, go and do an objective, and the enemy kills you, the actions that character did are still recorded. So if you find a way to save them or kill the other person so that your first person doesn't die, then you get those actions back. So like the points in a round can flip back and forth really quickly depending on how each person kind of reacts to the others. It's weird. Like it's mind bending. It's like fourth dimensional chess.
Yeah, when you described this to me, I felt like I needed to play it because I was playing 12 minutes and I was like, it's a time loop game, and then this is like time loop but way better or like time related.
It's definitely a much more interesting, maybe not more interesting, but is a different take on a time loop, and there's not really any other games out there like it right now.
I would agree.
More of a strategy game than a shooter.
Well, I know one thing that doesn't require any strategy. Love.
Segways.
Smooching.
But
Now I
it does
remember this
though.
game.
So, Tulip is a PlayStation 2 game that came out 20 years ago in Japan.
Where you smooch.
And then, as I am learning right now, just reading off the Wikipedia page, after numerous delays, the game was released in North America in 2007 as a GameStop exclusive.
This game came out like 2002.
Holy shit.
It came out 2002 in Japan and took 5 years to get here, and that makes a lot more sense, actually. Now knowing that, it makes certain things I was going to bring up make more sense. So, Tulip is on its own kind of a weird niche thing. You know, some of the people who made this, it came from the same lineage as the people who worked on Super Mario RPG, went on to make things like Moon Remix RPG, and then branched off into further stuff like Chibi Robo and Tulip.
Mhm.
Tulip is a game where you play as a boy, a poor boy, the game reminds you repeatedly, who just moved into a town with his dad, and you have a very weak heart. You have 10 points of life on your heart, which represents both physical and emotional damage. There's a girl in your town, and you very much want to confess, like give her a love letter, but you have a weak heart. And so before you can confess your love to her, at the base of a mythical tree called the Lover's Tree, you have to strengthen your heart by kissing other people around town. Basically, by doing larger quests with above ground NPCs, or figuring out smaller puzzles with, they're called underground residents, and they're weird people who pop out of the ground for like a couple hours at a time. So even on its own, the game's premise is a little weird. There's a lot of weird stuff in it. There's a dude who is just a stone lion. He runs the bathhouse in town. The fucking doctor in town turns evil at night and runs around jabbing people with a giant syringe if they cross his path. The doctor, the policeman, just straight up talks all the time about how much he wants to shoot and arrest people, which I guess makes him a normal policeman.
Jesus Christ.
But even all that put together with the weird, like the intentional weirdness of this quirky, niche game, learning that it took 5 years to make the jump between regions sheds some light on this. There are games that, like, you need the enclosed instruction guide to know what to do.
Mhm.
This game's instruction guide is like the Prima guide. This game's instruction guide straight up tells you the answer to pretty much everything in the game, because I guess they had that little faith in how obtuse some of it would be. And some of that is the obtuseness inherent in the design of figuring out how these people on a daily schedule do things. Some of it is just there are some things in it that are very intrinsic to a specific time in Japanese, like, culture that is weird to make a jump to North America. Like, there's a dude, I've seen them a couple times here, but I guess they're much bigger thing in Japan, of dudes who, like, sit at the entrance to a store or, like, at the end of a street and just click a tally thing in their hand
Oh, yeah.
to count the number of times, to count the number of people who go in, and that's their part-time job.
Yep.
Some of this game's translation is also very weird. That person's name, instead of being, 20-year-old part-timer, is just called 20-year-old guy. His untranslated onomatopoeia, which is the only hint you get as to what to do with him, is the onomatopoeia for, like, a tally clicker, but you just get a Japanese character in the English version.
Kliku.
So you have to look at the guide, which tells you have to walk, not run. If you run, he attacks you. You have to walk across his path 50 times for it to tally. And then you can kiss him.
I remember.
The weird there's another underground dweller that requires you to know the direction of a Japanese train system.
Okay. So
Like
you
the
you,
Japanese railway.
you couldn't beat this game without the guide at all.
In many respects, yes. Like, it is both a period and it is a thing of its time and place, and it's plenty enjoyable on its own merit, but I've put it in Strangest Game just because I don't think I've ever seen a game that has been
strange.
handled like this.
That seems very weird. I didn't know about, like, the specifics thing that you... I knew about the kissing. I thought that was already weird on its face, but...
Like, the concept of it is weird, but the handling of it adds a whole other layer.
A little bit.
as does the fucking. It's a charming translation, but it's less than ideal for communicating things to you sometimes.
Right. Well, that's. I think I still want to try that game at some point because it seems cool. But we should scoop motor on because we're almost at the end. So these two categories are kind of basically the same, but in different directions. So, Zara, if you don't mind doing your biggest disappointment and biggest surprise.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my biggest disappointment.
Biggest surprise disappointment.
Got it. I figured it out.
So my biggest disappointment this year is a game that I was anticipating for a long, long time. Evil Genius is a game that I love. It is one of my favorite games. It is a very flawed game, but I love it to death. And Evil Genius has been in development development hell for a long time, but it finally was released last year. And I played it, and I had fun with it, but I consistently find myself in the headspace that I'm like, I should go back and play that. And every time I do, I just stop playing it.
That's not good.
No, it's like I can't even really think of any one thing that's like a deal breaker for me. It's just there's so many little things that add up that just make it so that I don't enjoy it like I did the old game. Just little things that they changed this works a little bit differently. The writing, I mean the writing is good. The design is as good as it ever has been. But I don't know. There's something about it that just it doesn't inspire me to want to play it more. I think it relies a lot on like this game in particular relies a lot on like you building and then rebuilding your base.
Instead of building one big one?
Yeah, which I mean that's fine, but it's not the way that I like to think about this stuff when I'm building a base. I prefer to plan long term. So being unable to do that in this game is kind of it's not as fun for me. And going in knowing that like, oh, okay, I'm gonna build this room, knowing that eventually I'm gonna have to tear this out and build it somewhere else is just it's busy work, and I don't like it.
That sounds like padding, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but it's not a bad game. There's some enjoyment to be had with it, but it's ultimately not what I wanted from Evil Genius 2.
Well, that's a bummer. But was there anything you were more surprised like this year?
So the biggest surprise that I had this year, I think, is we've played a lot of Lego games.
Sure did.
There is not a single one of them. I mean, a lot of them are really samey.
Quite a bit.
And this one is really not that different. It's definitely the same category of a Lego game. But for whatever reason, this game captured my attention long enough for me to actually like 100% it. And not even just collect all the collectibles. I got every Steam achievement. I did everything that you can do in this game. And I don't know if that's just because I had a lot of free time at the time and I was playing it just to kill time, but I had this need to keep going and being like, yeah, I want to do this stuff, and no other Lego game has managed to do that for me.
Do you think
for whatever reason, this was the perfect storm of things that made me happy.
Do you think it's a combination of Lord of the Rings, which is a thing I know you like, and
I mean, that helped,
and a distillation of some of the more niggling problems the other Lego games had up until that point?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it has an easy to navigate world map that's fun, and like you can go and explore the whole map of Middle Earth and find all these little details and Easter eggs. There's cool characters in it. There's a bunch, like there's tons of Lord of the Rings characters in it, which are cool. And it doesn't feel like a chore to play most of the time. Sometimes it does.
Some of those
But-
Lego games are.
But yeah, there's no other Lego game that I have actually felt the need to just keep playing and keep unlocking everything. Eventually, I get bored with pretty much all of them, but this one just it was there, and I had fun with it.
Hey TT,
Uh,
I thought you liked No More Heroes.
I do, and I wouldn't even say No More Heroes 3 is a bad game. I really like playing 1 and 2. Travis Strikes Again was a game that kind of wore on me after a while. And then with this one, really just didn't click.
Do you think you're just burnt out on the series, or is it like something about this game is different enough that makes you kind of like what Zara said about?
Well, I think some
Evil
parts
Genius.
it's intentional. Like
Mm.
in No More Heroes 1 and 2, they've done things where they like fake you out on who you're actually going to be fighting.
Yeah.
This game does that several times as a running gag because they set up like a completely outside context problem of aliens.
Okay. Huh.
And so for several of them, they just have people who already have some kind of connection to Travis, or even just other Suda stuff show up.
I didn't know that. Okay.
This game does also get more self-referential,
Oh.
as did Travis Strikes Again, which
Oh.
maybe is part of it. Maybe I didn't play enough Suda stuff to really appreciate it enough, but it didn't get there for me in the same way. I don't know. The first two games comparatively felt more streamlined than this one did in a way that makes not overstay its welcome.
Weird. These games
as
always.
opposed to this one, which-
The No More Heroes always seemed like it was a pretty pared down experience because there's not a lot to do besides the time filler stuff, and when you're in the action stuff, you're like, that seems pretty one and done. So
This one has a lot of side missions that are just do combat.
okay, I can see how that might be a little Grady.
Yeah,
Speaking of
I don't
Grady,
know. I don't think it's a bad game. Just maybe this one's not my thing.
speaking of not my thing,
I'm going to need to be right back, but I will have thoughts about both.
sure, okay, so. I'm sure a lot of us have heard about Psychonauts 2 and how it is a good game and a good sequel to Psychonauts 1. It's probably one of the better games this year that I've played that I did really enjoy. My problem with Psychonauts 2 is that it made me want to just play Psychonauts 1 instead of play Psychonauts 2. I'm glad there's like story stuff that gives me closure and things like that to mysteries that have been in my brain for 10 plus years or whatever, but I don't know what about Psychonauts 2 just made me go, I care more about what happened before than what is happening now, but I want to finish what is happening now because I'm obligated to. Like, it's not a bad game. It just made me wish I was playing the first one again. I don't know if it's just the increase in scope or something like that, but I don't know. Something about it just made me go, I want to go back to the summer camp. I have two disappointing games on here because the other one is Doom Eternal, which I think broke Doom 2016 and made it worse.
Interesting.
Psychonauts is my soft answer for this. Doom Eternal is my hard answer. Like, Doom Eternal, I don't like it. The more I think about it, it's less fun to play. They're both arcadey, but Doom Eternal feels double, triple, quadruple arcadey, and
Yeah.
they're both fast paced. I think, the movement options and the jumping puzzles and stuff that's all cool and fun. I I liked 2016 because of like the the story and the anti-story happening at the same time. And Doom Eternal, it like goes deep into the lore of Doom and like it tries to explain stuff to you. And I don't know if they remember, but the first game literally starts with you going down an elevator and a computer is like, "All right, friend, are you ready for story?" And then you break it. And like the story is happening, but your character doesn't care. But as you go through Doom Eternal, there's a big long section that's just you have to sit there and watch it. And I don't know, it felt worse to play. It felt like it felt like it started to sniff its own mystical farts. To in a way that I really didn't like, and I think it is a much worse game, and your weapons feel less strong. Like some of the upgrades to the items are cool, but like I didn't like a bunch of the new weapons. I don't know, everything about Doom Eternal just made me go, man, this sucks. And then I wanted to re-experience Doom 2016, but like for the first time again, because that entire time I was playing that game, I was very excited. And I think because I failed so much in that game, I liked it a lot. But in Doom Eternal, I never really failed. I just kind of kept winning, and it
Gotta play on higher difficulty.
Maybe it's not like it wasn't challenging. It's just like, because the loop is so rote, because there is a thing you can do in every fight in Doom Eternal that will work 100% of the time, and it always worked for me.
So I haven't played Doom Eternal, but I watched somebody that plays it a lot, and I've seen him play it on like the hardest difficulties, and boy howdy, I think you're wrong there.
Maybe I may need to try it on hard difficulty. I played it on
that game gets hard as nuts in the higher difficulties.
I played it on the normal one and then the one right above that, but it's I don't know, I was just so bored by it, and
that's fair.
It's
I do understand what you were saying about like the lore and stuff. Like it does feel like they took Doom 2016, kind of evolved the gameplay formula, but wanted to go in a completely different direction for everything else.
I was listening during all of that. I don't necessarily know where you're coming from with the Psychonauts 2 stuff, but I agree wholeheartedly about Doom Eternal. I played the DLC for the first time this year, and especially in that DLC, the game like gets way too up its own ass. I still enjoy the gameplay, but I also get what you mean about it. Like, I think I preferred the streamlined 2016 stuff compared to the Eternal.
The juggling of armor, health, ammo stuff in Eternal feels bad to me. Because like
I like it sometimes, but it gets old in longer fights.
X gets Y gets Z gets A gets B, and like you're just like cycling through those things as you need them. But I don't know. I just didn't like it. Again, the Psychonauts 2 stuff, like I said, I preferred one, I think, but it's not a bad game. I don't think either of these are particularly bad, but they disappointed me. I didn't like them.
Psychonauts 2 had a lot of stuff that I felt like was pretty good, but could have used just a little bit more. But I also still think it's a very good game. Yeah. And I also recognize that, according to them, if they hadn't been picked up by Microsoft, they wouldn't have had any boss fights in the game at all. So, like,
damn.
I recognize that maybe a lot of the production this is the best they could do with the time and money they had, and it still turned out very good.
Yeah, it's quality. It's a good game.
Good soundtrack though.
Very happy with it. Also, I like Raz. I think Raz is a cool protagonist. But not just to be negative. I played. Thank you, Knight. It 2016 and Eternal are fundamentally different games, and I prefer the 16 version. It's still a good game, it's just not for me. But my biggest surprise last year was Subway Midnight, which is this super interesting puzzle game on a train, and it's not, I don't think the puzzles are particularly like crazy hard or anything, but I think they're all really cool, and that like the places the game takes you as you go through the different subway cars is more and more fascinating and more like fucked up in a couple cases. But it's a really cool story that is told entirely through like
There's
sound.
no real dialogue.
Yeah, it's sound and facial expression. It has like this cool like paper cutout like kind of character design stuff.
Very heavy, like color, like single color set
Yes.
pieces as well.
I talk about the
Uh,
color of video games a lot, and this game definitely has this in spades.
I was there with you when you played this. I still have it to play it for myself at some point.
Yeah,
It's a cool game.
if you haven't given it a shot, that the shit rules.
Published by Aggro Crowd, the same
yeah.
people who did
Going Under.
Going Under.
Yes. But that's all of our categories except for one. There's only one thing left to talk about, everybody. And that is our top 5 games of the year.
You mean 5 thing.
There's only 19 things to talk about
There's
left.
only
Oh god.
No, we're not gonna.
Well,
I don't think we need to
I'll
go
keep it
into
brief.
crazy detail. Yeah. So I had a lot of ideas for this category myself. Stop being there. So very specifically, my top 5 games were. Oh god, it's so big.
It's bursting out of the frame.
My top 5 games were, I guess, top to bottom, or bottom up. Let's say I'll end my first. Disco Elysium was probably one of my favorite games from that I played last year. Super good story, like I said before. It has amazing music, especially in streamer mode. But I don't know, it's something about it captured me and my attention for so long, and I adore that game. Winter War Tactics Club I replayed. Fiona, me and you played that together,
We
and
did.
that was like one of my first streams that I did a long thing for, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I think we had a fun little batch of characters there.
Yeah.
There's nothing I like more than a cast of characters, and that game has it in spades, and it's a fun tactics game. It's, if you haven't played it before, please give a look at Winter War Tactics Club. As I said before, I'm always looking for people of color in the protagonist roles because I play as a lot of white people in video games. And the main character of this game is a black girl, and I said this on another stream, but one of the major sticking points for this character is that she has trouble talking to another person of color in the game, something that I personally have dealt with in my life, and I feel a strong connection to it. But there's a lot of other characters with a lot of other problems, trials, and tribulations going on, and I think it is well worth it and a good look at different like personalities and characters in this weird anime school setting. So yeah, Winter War Tactics Club was awesome. Endwalker, Final Fantasy 14. I played a lot of that this past year with our free company. It's been a blast. I haven't been able to play recently because of work and shit, but I'm excited to get back
Quit
to
your
it.
job and join our rating group.
I need money. How am I going to pay for the game?
Take my strategy and have Gopher and Carnios pay your sub.
I mean, I don't want to do that. But Endwalker and Final Fantasy 14 are amazing. Since that game came back as it's in its new form, I started with A Realm Reborn. I played Aviary expansion as it came out. Basically, I was a little late on Stormblood, but I got there, and it is one of my favorite MMOs because every other MMO I played has been poop. It Takes Two was another game on this list. I think I don't need to reiterate anything because of the person I played it with, because of the experience I had with it. I think it's gonna always be good to me, but I can see why it's a little divisive,
Yeah,
but
I'm
it's a cool time.
not gonna take away people's time with their games.
For sure. And the best game that I thank you. The best game that I played this year, in my opinion, is Inscription, which is a card battle escape room puzzle game.
Yeah.
Because there are people that might want to play it. I don't want. This is another thing like Disco Elysium where I don't want to spoil anything. It is an amazing experience. I like card games, so I was immediately sucked in. Beyond that, the puzzles are very cool. The game can be a little swingy, but because of that, like the combinations of powers and abilities you can do some really fun stuff. And there's a layer of story and meta under there that I think are amazingly like delicious to me. Also, there's a little FMV in there, and I enjoy FMV games. I don't know about everybody else. I love bad acting. Inscription is quite possibly one of the best games that I've ever had the opportunity to play. And Devolver Digital really fucking knocked it out of the park again. Inscription is a bunch of card games, but I think it's so dope. But yeah, those are my top 5. I think I'm happy with that list for sure. Zara, it looks like you're up next, buddy.
So, my 5 games, I don't know why I picked these in particular. They're not in any real particular order, but I guess we'll start with Loop Hero. I played Loop Hero after watching some other people play it, and it's a lot of fun. I still haven't actually beaten the game because it's actually very hard. It's a difficult game, but if you like roguelikes and you like playing games that don't take a whole lot of time, then it's a good game. It's a really good game if you like to have something playing while you're watching a video, or it's kind of not really an idle game, but it's a good game where you've got something going on in the background, because it's very simplistic, but it's, you can be in and playing a game in like 15-20 minutes and then walk away, and you're always kind of making progress. You're always building on what you've got before, and it's also kind of a card game.
Oh, I love card games.
You collect cards, so there's that. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun with Loop Hero, and it's a neat game. Also dealing with like loops, not really time loops, but weird.
I like loops.
From there, the other game that I spent a whole lot of time with this year was Valheim, which a lot of people have played Valheim. It kind of blew up in popularity around this time last year. But it's another one of those, craft 'em ups. You go and collect resources, you build yourself a little house, and you have bosses to go and fight. And it's just it scratches that itch for me. It's a lot of fun. Plus it's in early access. There's still a lot more content coming down the pipeline, which I'm really looking forward to. And again, a very small development team. Like, I think it's only like 1 or 2 people again who did Valheim,
Zara,
which is very impressive.
you forgot you died of smoke inhalation.
I did die of smoke inhalation. Yeah, it's another game, very simplistic graphics, but it looks very pretty due to the lighting and the details. It's a cool game, and I highly recommend it to anybody who likes, Terraria or Minecraft or anything like that. It's fun to build your house. Plus, it's got physics. You actually have to build structural supports, which is different.
Even if it's sometimes questionable about how supporting those structures are.
Yeah, sometimes. From there, I guess I'll talk about Teardown. It's kind of similar vein. Small indie game about, demolition, tearing things apart, repurposing them. I've already talked about Teardown. It's probably the best. It's definitely the best indie game that I've played. It's very, very. It has surprised me very much. So, I've enjoyed it. I recommend it. I think it's well worth the price. Pathologic 2, again, you already know why I like this game. There's not really anything else like it. And I highly recommend that if anybody plays it, tell me about it, because it's fascinating to me. It's a world that I am engrossed in. And B, do your best to play it on the intended difficulty. It's all one big package. It is a game that has commentary on the video game. It's a very strange game, but there's nothing else like it, and it's very good. And then finally, kind of a cheat answer, VR chat, which I kind of put it there because I think it's got the most potential. Like, VR chat is getting more and more popular every year. There is a countless number of people who use it for a countless number of different things. Like, you can join rooms to play games with people. They completely recreated like a 3D version of Among Us in VR chat. They've remade Jet Set Radio in VR chat. There's role play groups that are producing shows online that you can watch. There's just game rooms you can go and play games with people. There's hangout rooms where you can just go and hang out with your friends. I know I have read stories of people like falling asleep in VR chat with their friends, which is super weird. I don't know how you would sleep with the headset on, but it's slowly becoming more of like a bigger social platform, and there doesn't really seem to be any end in sight as to where it's going. So it's gonna be big. And those are my words, my five games, top 5 games in no particular order.
Fiona.
E.
Is you. Oh, I put you way up there.
Oh boy.
I'll fix it. I got it. Also, it's weirdly large. What the heck?
So, my top 5 games are almost entirely games I've already talked about. There's Endwalker, of course. It's weird to say that it's expected because I love it a lot, but also I expected to love it a lot, so it doesn't really surprise me. Like, certainly some things during it surprised me, but my feelings towards it are expected. There's also Hitman 3, like I said before, despite the DLC practices, I didn't 100% the content, but I did suit-only Silent Assassin on basically every level almost as soon as I beat the game. And did a whole lot of challenges on basically every level. I think I've 100%ed like 3 of them even. Warframe kind of has to be on this list given how much I've played it. It managed to tear me away from Endwalker, and partly that was due to Endwalker's queues, but even like I would be playing it while my queues were counting down in the background. And when I logged in, I realized, oh, I actually don't want to play Endwalker. I want to just play more Warframe. So here it was. Ocean Heart's on here because, like I said, it didn't grab me for long, but boy did it grab me for that short amount of time. And Baldur's Gate is on here because every 5 months or so, I completely do another fucking huge install of it in mods, and I will never be free of it.
Fiona's games are a trap, which she is forever stuck in. uh, much like a pit stand trap, Fiona will always be in these games.
Except Ocean Heart. Ocean Heart let me free pretty quick.
That's fair.
Only one of these games on my list actually even came out this year,
Fair.
which was Resident Evil Village. I thought that was a really good game. It just didn't really fit any of the other categories, I thought.
Mhm.
Played Resident Evil 7. I thought it was just okay. Got to Resident Evil 8. Aced it. Did all the trophies. I got the double S ranks in the score mode, so I could get the fucking lightsaber. Unlocked all the stuff. It's a fun game. I cared about the characters, which Resident Evil 7 kind of had some weird spots in the writing, more so than just, like, usual Resident Evil weirdness. It's a fun game. Picross is on there, which the generic term for those puzzles is nonograms. Picross is fucking fun. I played a lot of it. I have it running, but in sleep mode right now that I can just pick up if I wanted to. They're fun. They are engrossing.
They sure are
And the
called
other 3 items,
nonograms, and people sure do still call them Picrosses.
yeah, I felt the need to make the generic term known. The other 3 games are things that I just happened to replay this year, and would probably just be in my top 10 or 20 of all time anyway. Viva Pinata, Trouble in Paradise. It holds a special place in my heart. It's a game I like. It's a game I've liked for a while. It's fun. And more recently, like in the past month or two, I also replayed Ghost Trick and Bloodborne, which are also very good. People should play them.
I can't wait to play Bloodborne.
Bloodborne is probably my... I mean, I played Sekiro this year, and honestly, I probably would have put that on the list if I hadn't played Bloodborne recently.
They're both...
Sekiro is a really good game, I think, but I think I like Bloodborne more.
Yeah.
They're both different from a lot of the Dark
Sekiro
Souls
is one
stuff.
of those that I'm glad other people like, even if I don't.
And Ghost Trick's a fucking good game. It's probably the best. I've played a good chunk of the Ace Attorney games, made by similar people, but I think I like it a lot better. You don't get a lot new if you replay it, but it's fun to replay. It's a good game. It's a good story. It's well made, and very funny, very fun, very touching. Play Ghost Trick.
I'll give it a shot one day. There's so many things to play. All right. But I should co-op Bloodborne, maybe. So with that, that is all of our games of the year, our definitive list of all of these games. We did it. Next year might cut, but so thanks for hanging out, watching, chilling with us, and talking about some video games with us. I appreciate it. I like long form discussion stuff and just talking about video games in general. So I want to do more things like this, but I plan to do at least this once a year. I'm going to play a lot of new stuff this year, so I'll have new stuff for the list next year. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
I'll try to remember games I've played because I opened up a game store to look at the Hitman DLCs and I was like, oh right, I played Hand of Fate 2 this year and fucking completely forgot about it despite really liking that game.
I've got a big backlog of stuff, and it keeps growing despite any common sense saying I should probably not let it do that.
The speed
Um,
and completeness with which you finish games, I'm surprised things get backlogged, but I understand, I suppose.
Also, part of it is that I have games that I have not and still don't have a computer good enough to run. But hopefully that
Yeah.
changes soon.
Yeah. Hopefully. In the meantime, thanks everybody for swinging out to the Jam Awards this year to see this list of very real awards. All of the publishers, developers, no, not the publishers, the developers who made games for this. Feel free to swing by my place to get your awards. I have made all of them. They'll be here for whenever.
But what if anyone does do that?
Listen, Fiona. I need you to not put that energy out in the world for me. Um, of course, I plan to give them their rewards, obviously, but you know, we gotta live with the fact that they might not come get all of these trophies that I've bought and put in boxes. But you know, we'll see. In the meantime, I hope you guys come out to see next week's thing. Come see all of my friends who stream all over the place. Go check out Zara's stuff. Fiona streams sometime, and TT, there was designs for it in the future, possibly.
Maybe if I get that computer at some point.
Hell yeah. And then always come see Wordsy. I'm usually streaming something weird, and we're still streaming Detroit Become Human, because I like that game.
You don't?
I do. It's a similar like Teak. I enjoy the concept and the like.
You're intrigued by it.
Yeah, my interest is higher than my disgust.
I just need you to use better words when you are interested in a game.
But if I'm interested, that means I like it.
But if he uses words like that, then it drives up engagement.
It does. Because right now we're engaged in a conversation, and you're mad at me. And
Doesn't matter if it's likes or dislikes. It's all feeding into the same algorithm.
yeah. Anyway, listen. We're gonna dip for the night. I am going to. Is anybody online?
This just in, I'm stuck on a Picross, and it's the worst thing ever, and I can no longer recognize it.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's how Picross go.
Hey everybody. I'm just gonna swing all on over to Ice Nerd Fridge Mold. Thank you so much for chilling with us for a Game of the Year thing. Hope to do it again next year, where we can talk about more video games and stuff. And keep an eye out for other projects that I might be doing. I have ideas literally all the time. Nothing can stop me. Night, everybody.
Good night, folks.
Good night.